Tonight, in front of 500 wolves, Rhea Calder would be declared worthless by the only man whose opinion was supposed to matter. The rejection wouldn't be whispered in private, it would be roared for all to hear, a public execution without bloodshed. She stood in the center of the gathering circle, barefoot on frozen ground, while her mate prepared to destroy her. But here's what no one knew yet. The girl they were about to discard would one day make kings kneel. If you want to see how the weakest wolf in the kingdom became its most dangerous queen, stay until the end. Like this video, and comment what city you're watching from. Now let's go back to where it all began. The night Rhea learned that mercy was a luxury she could no longer afford. The Silver Pine Pack Gathering Hall smelled like wet fur, pine smoke, and expensive wine that nobody could actually afford, but everyone pretended they could. Rhea stood near the back wall, trying to make herself invisible, a skill she'd perfected over 22 years of being the pack's greatest embarrassment. Around her, wolves laughed and drank, their bodies radiating the kind of easy confidence that came from knowing exactly where they belonged in the world. She didn't belong anywhere. Is that her? Someone whispered, not quietly enough. They never were. The broken one, another voice confirmed, dripping with the kind of pity that was really just cruelty wearing a polite mask. Can you imagine? 22 and still no wolf. My cousin shifted at 11. I heard she tried to force it once. Threw herself off Miller's Ridge thinking the fall would trigger something. Did it work? She broke her arm in 3 places. That's what worked. Laughter. Always laughter. Rhea kept her eyes on the floor. The stone was cold beneath her bare feet. Shoes were considered disrespectful during formal gatherings. Some ancient tradition that made sense when wolves ran wild and free. Now it just meant her toes were going numb while everyone else's wolf-heated bodies kept them comfortable. Her simple gray dress marked her as unmated, unclaimed, unwolfed. A ghost in a room full of predators. The hall had been decorated for tonight's ceremony. White flowers hung from the rafters, their petals already browning at the edges because someone had hung them 3 days too early and nobody cared enough to replace them. Candles flickered in iron sconces, casting shadows that danced across the faces of pack members who'd known her since childhood and still looked at her like she was something they'd stepped in. She'd been 5 the first time someone called her broken, 7 when her mother stopped defending her, 13 when she stopped defending herself. Rhea, her mother's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Rhea turned to find Margaret Calder approaching, her face tight with the particular kind of anger that came from public humiliation by association. Her mother had shifted at 9, early, even by their standards. A silver wolf, beautiful and fierce, everything a pack wolf should be. Having a wolfless daughter was like being a champion swimmer who'd given birth to a child afraid of water. No, worse than that. A child who drowned in the bathtub. Stand up straight, Margaret hissed, grabbing Rhea's elbow hard enough to bruise. The bruises never showed anymore. Rhea had gotten good at hiding them. You're making us look worse than we already do. Sorry, Rhea murmured automatically. The apology was reflex now, built into her bones. Don't apologize. Don't speak unless directly addressed. And for the love of... Margaret's nostrils flared, and Rhea knew what was coming. Did you bathe? You smell human. Because I am human, Rhea thought, but didn't say. Without a wolf, that's all she was. A human living among monsters who could tear her apart without breaking a sweat. She'd tried everything. Meditation, starvation, ancient rituals copied from crumbling books in the pack library. Nothing worked. Whatever cosmic lottery determined who got a wolf and who didn't, she'd lost spectacularly. The Alpha is ready to begin, someone announced from the front of the hall. The crowd shifted, forming a natural circle in the center of the room. Rhea's stomach dropped like a stone down a well. This was it. The moment she'd been dreading for 3 weeks, ever since Garrett Blackwood had pulled her aside after a pack run and told her they needed to talk. She'd known then. The way he wouldn't meet her eyes. The way his hand had dropped from her shoulder like she'd burned him. The way he'd said, "It's complicated," when what he meant was, "You're not good enough." Margaret pushed Rhea forward into the circle. Go, and try not to cry. You've embarrassed us enough. The crowd parted reluctantly, as if touching her might be contagious. Maybe it was. Maybe whatever had broken inside her, whatever had prevented her wolf from emerging, maybe it could spread. Jump from person to person like a disease. Rhea walked to the center on legs that threatened to buckle, her heart hammering so hard she wondered if the wolves could hear it. They probably could. They could hear everything: heartbeats, lies, fear, the secrets your body told even when your mouth stayed shut. Garrett stood on the opposite side of the circle. He looked nothing like the boy who'd found her crying behind the schoolhouse when she was 14, who'd told her that not having a wolf didn't make her broken, who'd kissed her for the first time under the old oak tree and whispered that she was enough just as she was. That boy was gone. Now at 25, Garrett was all sharp angles and controlled power. The beta's son, destined for leadership, already commanding respect that Rhea would never taste. He wore the formal black suit that marked him as pack elite, his dark hair perfectly styled, his jaw set in determination. He was beautiful, and he was about to ruin her life. Alpha Marcus Silverpine stood beside him, a mountain of a man with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes that had seen 60 years of pack politics and still somehow found new ways to be disappointed. He raised one hand, and the hall fell silent so completely that Rhea could hear her own breathing, ragged and uneven. "We gather tonight to address a bond matter," Marcus said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room without effort. Alpha command. Every wolf in the room felt the weight of it pressing down on their shoulders. Every wolf except Rhea. Garrett Blackwood has invoked his right to formal rejection. Murmurs rippled through the crowd like wind through grass. Formal rejection was rare. Most unmated pairs simply drifted apart, went their separate ways quietly, found other partners, and pretended the bond had never existed. Making it official like this, in front of the entire pack, that was a statement. A declaration. This isn't just ending, this is erasing. Rhea's hands were shaking. She clasped them behind her back where no one could see. "Garrett," the Alpha continued, "speak your truth." Garrett stepped forward. For just a second, his eyes met Rhea's, and she saw something flicker there, regret maybe, or guilt. The ghost of the boy who'd loved her, or claimed to. Then it was gone, buried beneath the cold mask of duty and self-preservation. 3 months ago, Garrett began, his voice steady and clear, practiced. I felt the mate bond snap into place. I was honored, excited. I thought He paused, and Rhea heard the careful calculation in the silence, every word chosen for maximum impact. I thought it meant something, that the moon goddess had chosen someone worthy for me. The crowd was dead quiet now. This was better than television, better than any drama they could manufacture themselves. But Rhea Calder has no wolf. He said it simply, like stating a fact. The sky is blue, water is wet, she is worthless. She will never shift, she will never run with the pack, she will never hunt, she will never protect our territory, she will never bear strong children. His voice hardened. She is, another pause, perfectly timed. She is a mistake. Rhea felt the words land like physical blows, each one a knife between the ribs. A mistake. Not just wolfless, not just weak. A mistake the universe itself had made, a glitch in the cosmic code. I cannot mate with a human, Garrett continued, and there it was. The word that separated her from everyone else in this room. Human. The thing they pretended to be in the outside world but despised in reality. I cannot bind myself to someone who will never understand what it means to be wolf. To ask me to do so would weaken not just myself, but the entire pack. Someone in the crowd muttered agreement. Then another. The sound grew, a low rumble of approval that made Rhea's skin crawl. They were agreeing with him. Of course they were. They'd been waiting for this, probably. Waiting for someone to finally say out loud what they'd all been thinking. She doesn't belong here. The pack deserves strength, Garrett said, warming to his theme now. The future deserves strength. I deserve a mate who can stand beside me, not behind me, who can fight when fighting is needed, who can give our children the gift that she was denied. Our children. As if they'd already existed, already been lost. Rhea's vision blurred at the edges. Therefore, Garrett said, louder now, projecting to the back of the hall, I, Garrett Blackwood, son of Beta Thomas Blackwood, formally reject Rhea Calder as my mate. I sever the bond between us. I cast her out from any claim on my protection, my name, or my future. She is no longer mine, and I am no longer hers. The air pressure changed. Rhea gasped as something inside her chest snapped, not physically, but close enough that her body couldn't tell the difference. The mate bond, that thin golden thread she'd barely had time to acknowledge, severed cleanly. The pain was immediate and shocking, like someone had reached into her ribcage and yanked out something vital while she was still awake to feel it. Her knees buckled. She caught herself on sheer stubborn will, refused to give them the satisfaction of watching her fall. "Do you accept this rejection?" Alpha Marcus asked, looking at Rhea for the first time since this whole nightmare began. Every eye in the room fixed on her, waiting, hoping, probably, that she'd make a scene, scream, beg, give them something to talk about for weeks. Did you see her? So pathetic, so desperate. Couldn't even keep a mate who was literally chosen by the moon goddess herself. Rhea lifted her chin, met Garrett's eyes across the circle, saw nothing there she recognized. "Yes," she said quietly. Then, louder, forcing the words past the razor blades in her throat. "I accept." The formality was done. The bond was broken. In the eyes of pack law, she and Garrett had never been connected at all. Garrett turned away immediately, disappearing into the crowd where hands clapped his shoulders and voices praised his wisdom. Making the hard choice. Protecting the pack's future. Doing what needed to be done. Such a shame about the Calder girl, but really, what did she expect? Rhea stood alone in the center of the circle. The crowd held its shape for another moment, then dissolved like sugar in water. Conversations picked up where they'd left off. Someone laughed. Someone else called for more wine. The pack moved on. "Well," a woman said brightly, her voice carrying over the renewed chatter, "that's settled. Who wants another drink? I heard they opened the good bottles." The gathering resumed as if nothing had happened, as if a girl's entire future hadn't just been publicly dismantled for entertainment. Laughter returned. Music started up again. Someone had brought a guitar. Within minutes, people had forgotten she existed. Rhea walked to the edge of the room on autopilot, her chest aching where the bond had been. The pain was different from physical hurt, deeper. Like grief, but grief for something she'd barely had time to want. She needed air. Needed to get out of this hall, away from these people, before she did something stupid like cry or scream or ask why the moon goddess had bothered giving her a mate at all if the whole point was just to humiliate her more efficiently. She was almost to the door when her father appeared, blocking her path. Richard Calder looked older than his 50 years. His face was lined with disappointment, some of it from life, most of it from her. He'd been a strong wolf once, a hunter, respected. Then a rogue bear had caught him off guard during a winter hunt and shattered his spine in 3 places. The pack healers had saved his life but couldn't restore what the bear had taken. Now he walked with a cane, drank too much cheap whiskey, and owed money to people who didn't accept late payments or excuses. "Rhea," he said. Not gently, never gently. "I'm leaving," she said, her voice flat. "Not yet." His hand closed around her wrist, gripped stronger than it had any right to be. "We need to talk." "There's nothing to—" "Your mother and I have made arrangements." Something in his tone stopped her. She looked up and saw it in his eyes. Not anger this time. Fear. Real, genuine fear, the kind that made predators run. "What arrangements?" she asked slowly. Richard glanced around, checking for eavesdroppers, then pulled her into a side corridor away from the main hall. The sounds of the party faded behind them, replaced by the drip of water from old pipes and the scratch of mice in the walls. The palace was falling apart, just like everything else in Silverpine. "I owe money," he said bluntly. "A lot of money. To the Ironclaw pack." Rhea's blood went cold. The Ironclaw pack controlled the territory north of Silverpine. Rougher land, harsher winters, meaner wolves. They mined silver and collected debts, and they were known for being creative about payment plans when cash wasn't available. "How much?" she whispered. 20,000. Her knees almost gave out. $20,000. That was more than their house was worth, more than they'd see in 5 years, 10 years. "I don't understand," Rhea said, her mind racing. "How did you even— where would you get that kind of— It doesn't matter how." Richard's voice cracked like ice over deep water. "What matters is they want payment by the end of the month, and I don't have it. Your mother's jewelry is gone. The house is mortgaged. There's nothing left to sell except—" He stopped. "Except what?" "They've agreed to take alternative compensation. The way he said it made her stomach turn. The way he wouldn't look at her. The way his hand was still gripping her wrist like she might run. What kind of alternative compensation? But she already knew. Deep down, in the part of her that had learned to expect the worst from everyone, she knew. Her father wouldn't look at her. You. The corridor spun. The walls tilted. Somewhere far away, Rhea could still hear the party, music and laughter and the sound of people who had futures. "No," Rhea said. "No, you can't." "They're sending you to the capital," Richard said quickly. Like if he got the words out fast enough, they'd hurt less. Like speed could make betrayal into mercy. "To the trial, the Alpha King's trial. It's not as bad as it sounds. It's an opportunity, really. A chance to—" "That's a death sentence," Rhea's voice cracked, echoing off stone. "That's a death sentence and you know it." "It's a chance." Her father grabbed her shoulders, desperation making him strong, making him cruel. "Listen to me. The king needs a mate. He's been cursed for 5 years and nobody's broken it. If you survive the trial, if you somehow manage to— No one survives. Nobody." The words tore out of her. "Hundreds of wolves have tried. Trained warriors, powerful shifters, daughters of alphas. They all died or went insane or disappeared and nobody ever sees them again. And you want to send me? Me? I don't even have a wolf. I can't fight. I can't defend myself. You're smart," Richard interrupted, and there was something horrible in his eyes now, something that looked almost like hope. "Smarter than your mother and me combined. You've survived this long without a wolf in a world that eats the weak. Maybe that's what the king needs. Someone different. Someone who thinks instead of just fights." "Someone disposable, you mean?" The words came out cold and clear. "Someone the family won't miss when she dies screaming in some cursed king's dungeon." Richard flinched but didn't deny it. "When?" Rhea asked. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears, distant, like it belonged to someone else. 3 days. The Ironclaw Pack sends a representative to collect you. They'll take you to the capital. The trial begins next week." "And if I refuse?" Her father's face went gray. "Then they kill all of us. Your mother, me, you. They burn the house down and display our heads on the territory border as a warning about unpaid debts. Those are the terms." "You sold me," Rhea said numbly. "You sold your daughter to pay your gambling debts." "To save the family!" Richard's voice rose, desperate now. "What was I supposed to do? Let them slaughter us all? At least this way you have a chance. At least this way—" "I'm not part of this family anymore." The words came out raw and jagged, pulled from somewhere deep. "Garrett made that very clear tonight, didn't he? I'm nothing, a mistake, worthless. Why would you even—" Her voice broke. "Why would you think I could survive something that killed trained warriors? What could I possibly—" "Because you have nothing to lose." Her father said it simply, honestly. "Because you're already dead here, Rhea. You know it. I know it. The whole pack knows it. At least in the capital, at least with the king, there's a chance you could matter. Could be something other than the wolfless girl everyone pities." The truth of it hit harder than the rejection had. Rhea pushed past him, her breath coming in short gasps. She needed to get out, needed to run. But where? She had no money, no allies, nowhere to go. The pack tolerated her existence because she was born here, blood of their blood, but they'd never lift a finger to help her. Not against Ironclaw, not against her own father's debts. And now she was going to die in the capital, in the cursed Alpha King's palace, just so her father could keep his kneecaps and her mother could pretend they'd never had a defective daughter at all. She made it outside before the tears came. The night air was sharp and cold, biting through her thin gray dress like teeth. Above her, stars wheeled in a sky that didn't care. Behind her, the gathering hall glowed warm and golden, full of wolves who belonged, who had futures, who mattered. Rhea walked until she reached the tree line. The forest was forbidden to her without an escort, too dangerous for a human alone, full of things with teeth and hunger. But she didn't care anymore. What were they going to do? Kill her? She was already dead, just hadn't fallen down yet. She sank down at the base of a massive oak tree, the same tree where Garrett had kissed her and lied about forever, and let herself break. The rejection hurt. The mate bond severing had felt like dying. But this, her own parents selling her like livestock, sending her to certain death to settle gambling debts, This was something worse than pain. This was confirmation of what she'd always suspected. She didn't matter, had never mattered, was never going to matter. What was the point of her existence? She wasn't wolf enough to belong, wasn't human enough to leave and build a life in the cities where people like her weren't freaks. She existed in this terrible in-between space, useful to no one, wanted by nothing, a cosmic error that everyone was too polite to correct directly. Until tonight. Tonight they'd corrected her, but good. Hours passed. The gathering ended. Wolves streamed out of the hall in pairs and groups, laughing, drunk, alive. No one looked for her. No one noticed she was gone. Why would they? She was already gone, really, had been gone for years. Eventually, Margaret found her. Her mother didn't say anything, just stood at the edge of the clearing until Rhea dragged herself upright and followed her home like an obedient dog. Their house was small, 3 rooms, drafty windows, a roof that leaked when it rained and had been about to get fixed for 6 years. Richard was already passed out in his chair, an empty whiskey bottle beside him. Liquid courage for the coward who'd sold his daughter. "Pack a bag," Margaret said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. 1 bag. The Ironclaw wolves won't wait for you to sort through memories. Mom, don't. Margaret held up one hand. Her eyes were dry, her face carved from ice. 22 years of disappointment had frozen whatever maternal instinct she might have once had. This is the best option for everyone. The king's trial might be dangerous, but it's better than watching the Ironclaw pack tear your father apart in our living room. At least this way, there's a chance. A chance at what? I'm gonna die. Then die usefully. The words landed like stones. You've been a burden since the day you didn't shift, since the day we realized you were broken. This is your chance to finally do something for this family, to matter, just once, before the end. Rhea stared at her mother, this woman who'd given birth to her, raised her, and apparently never loved her at all. Never saw her as anything except a mistake that needed fixing. "Okay," Rhea said quietly. What else was there to say? She went to her room, which was really just a corner of the attic with a thin mattress and a battered trunk. She owned almost nothing. Packing took 10 minutes. 3 changes of clothes, all of them gray or brown, or the color of not being noticed. Her grandmother's necklace, the only family heirloom she'd been allowed to keep. A simple silver chain with a moonstone pendant. A book of poems she'd stolen from the Pack library years ago, back when she still believed words could save her. She sat on the mattress and waited for morning. Sleep didn't come. How could it? In 3 days, she'd be handed over to strangers like property. In a week, she'd face whatever trial had killed hundreds of stronger, better wolves. In a month, if she even lasted that long, she'd be dead or worse. But sitting there in the dark, watching dawn creep across the sky like blood through water, Rhea realized something. She'd been dead for a long time already. This was just making it official. When morning finally came, gray and cold, she was ready. The Ironclaw wolves arrived exactly on time. 2 of them, both male, both built like brick walls with teeth. They didn't introduce themselves, didn't make small talk, just looked at her like she was livestock being transferred from one farm to another. "This her?" the taller one asked Richard. "Yes." Rhea called her, 22 years old, healthy, never been in trouble with pack law. "She got a wolf?" "No." The wolves exchanged glances. Something that might have been pity flickered across the shorter one's face. "You know what you're walking into?" he asked Rhea. Not unkindly. "Yes," Rhea said. "And you're going anyway?" "I don't have a choice." He nodded slowly. "Fair enough. Try not to die too quick. The Alpha King gets mean when they break easy. Draws it out if you just collapse and beg." "Noted," Rhea said. They walked her out. The whole pack came to watch. Because of course they did. Nothing brought wolves together like a spectacle. They lined the main road, silent and staring. Some looked guilty. Most looked relieved. Better her than their daughters. Garrett was there, standing with a pretty she-wolf who already had her hand possessively on his arm. She was beautiful, strong, everything Rhea wasn't. He didn't look at Rhea as she passed, couldn't even give her that much. Her parents stayed inside. Couldn't even be bothered to say goodbye to the daughter they'd sold. At the territory border, one of the Ironclaw wolves turned to her. "You really don't have a wolf?" he asked. "Really don't." And they're still sending you to the king. Apparently I'm the right kind of disposable, he grunted. Ironclaw Alpha said you were payment for debts. Didn't realize you were the daughter. That's rough. Life's rough. Yeah. He looked at her for a long moment. You got anyone in the capital? Anyone who might help you? No? Then take this. He pulled a card from his pocket, handed it over. If you somehow survive, and I mean that, if, call this number. Tell them Rowan sent you. They run a safe house for wolves who need to disappear. Just in case. Rhea took the card. Why are you helping me? Because I got a daughter about your age, Rowan said quietly, and I'd want someone to help her if her own pack threw her away. Then they crossed into Ironclaw territory, and Rhea Calder left behind everything she'd ever known. The journey to the capital took 5 days by train, 5 days of watching the world unfold outside her window, like a map she'd never get to explore. She'd never been on a train before, had never left Packlands. The world outside was bigger and stranger than she'd imagined. Sprawling cities full of humans who had no idea that wolves walked among them, mountains that touched clouds, rivers so wide you couldn't see the other side. Rowan and his partner, who never gave his name, left her alone mostly, bought her food at stations, made sure she had a blanket for cold nights. They weren't cruel, just businesslike. She was cargo, and they were delivery men. On the last night, Rowan knocked on her compartment door. We'll reach the capital tomorrow, he said. You'll report to the palace by sunset. They'll give you quarters, explain the rules. The trial starts the next day. What happens during the trial? Rhea asked. Nobody knows for sure. It's different for everyone. But the ones who come out, the few who do, they don't talk about it. Can't, maybe, or won't. Great. Look. Rowan sat down across from her. I know you think you're going to die, and maybe you will, but I've seen the Alpha King once, from a distance. And I'll tell you what I saw. He's not just cursed, he's trapped. Like something vital got locked away and he can't find the key. So maybe he doesn't need another warrior. Maybe he needs someone who knows what it's like to be trapped, to be broken, to survive anyway. Rhea looked at him. You really think I have a chance? Honestly, no. He stood up. But I didn't think I'd survive the war either, and here I am. Sometimes the world surprises you. He left her alone with that cold comfort. The capital appeared on the horizon just after dawn, a sprawling city built into the mountainside, all stone and steel and history. And above it all, the palace. Dark, massive, more fortress than home. The train pulled into the station. Rowan and his partner escorted her to the platform, handed her a manila envelope with her papers, and that was it. Transaction complete. Good luck, Rowan said. Rowan meskamatun. Then they were gone, and Rhea stood alone in the capital city, surrounded by strangers, holding everything she owned in one canvas bag. The palace was visible from anywhere in the city, a massive stone structure built into the mountain itself, all sharp angles and dark windows. It looked less like a place where people lived and more like a place where people went to be forgotten, or to die. Rhea started walking. The city was called Thornhaven, and it was nothing like the small packed territories she knew. Here, wolves and humans mixed freely, though if you knew what to look for, you could spot the difference. Wolves moved with predatory grace, carried themselves with unconscious dominance, took up space like it belonged to them. Humans hurried, heads down, shoulders hunched, trying not to attract attention. Rhea fit right in with the humans. Just another scared girl in a city of predators. The palace gates were massive iron things, decorated with thorns and roses intertwined. Guards stood at attention, wolves in formal military dress, all sharp eyes and sharper teeth. They looked at her papers and waved her through without comment. She was expected. Of course she was. Just another sacrifice to feed the cursed king. Inside the gates, a woman in a severe black suit was waiting. She held a clipboard like a weapon. Rhea Calder? She asked, not looking up. Yes, I'm Vivian Frost, the King's administrative coordinator. You're late. The other participants arrived yesterday. I'm sorry, Save it. Vivian's eyes swept over Rhea, cataloging everything and finding it wanting. You'll be shown to your quarters. The trial begins tomorrow at dawn. Do not be late for that. Meals are at 6, noon, and 7. Don't miss them. You'll need your strength. What little you have. She gestured, and Rhea followed her into the palace proper. The interior was exactly as cold as the exterior promised. Marble floors polished to mirror brightness, dark wood panels that swallowed light. Portraits of previous kings lined the walls, all of them radiating power even in paint, all of them looking like they could tear you apart with a glance. The current king's portrait was conspicuously absent. "How many participants are there?" Rhea asked, her voice echoing in the vast hallway. 37, including you. "How many usually survive?" Vivian's smile was razor thin. Define survive. They reached a wing of the palace that smelled like lavender and anxiety. Doors lined both sides of the hallway, most of them closed. Behind one, Rhea heard someone crying. Behind another, aggressive pacing. Behind a third, what sounded like praying. "Your room," Vivian said, stopping at door 17. "Breakfast is at 6. Be in the throne room by 7 sharp. Don't make the king wait. He hates that." "What happens during the trial?" Rhea asked. "You'll find out tomorrow, along with everyone else." Vivian started to leave, then paused, looked back. "A word of advice, Miss Calder. The king can smell fear and lies. Whatever you are, be that completely. Pretend to be brave when you're terrified. He'll know. Pretend to be strong when you're weak. He'll tear you apart. Anything less than total honesty, and you won't last 5 minutes." "Noted." "Oh, and Miss Calder?" Vivian's smile sharpened. "You're the wolfless one, aren't you?" It wasn't a question. "Yes," Rhea said anyway. "Interesting." Vivian made a note on her clipboard. "Very interesting. The king's going to love you." The way she said love made it sound like a death sentence. Then she left. Rhea entered her room. It was small, clean, with a bed that was nicer than anything she'd slept on before. There was a window overlooking the city, the lights beginning to glow as night fell. There was a bathroom with actual hot water. There was a closet with fresh clothes, simple, practical, all in shades of gray. She set down her bag and sat on the edge of the bed. Tomorrow, she would face a cursed Alpha King who had killed or destroyed every woman who'd ever tried to break his curse. She had no wolf, no power, no training, no allies, and no illusions about her chances. But sitting in that clean, quiet room, watching the sun set over a city that didn't know her name, Rhea realized something. She had nothing left to lose. No family who loved her. No pack who valued her. No mate who wanted her. No future worth protecting. She was, in the most complete sense, free. And that, she thought as darkness fell, might be the most dangerous thing of all. Tomorrow she would meet the king. Tomorrow the trial would begin. Tomorrow she would probably die. But tonight, just for tonight, Rhea Calder allowed herself to imagine what it would feel like to matter. Just once, before the end. Dawn came too fast and not fast enough. Rhea had spent the night listening to the sounds of the palace. Footsteps in distant corridors, doors opening and closing, someone sobbing 3 rooms down until finally, mercifully, they stopped. She'd tried to sleep, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Too wired on fear and adrenaline and the sick certainty that today might be her last. At 5:45, she gave up and got dressed. The clothes in the closet fit perfectly, which was somehow worse than if they'd been wrong. It meant someone had measured her, studied her, prepared for her arrival like she was just another piece in a game she didn't understand. She chose dark pants and a simple black shirt, practical, unremarkable, the kind of thing that wouldn't get in the way when she inevitably had to run or fight or die. The hallway outside was already filling with women. 36 other she-wolves, all of them beautiful in that effortless way that came from good genetics and wolf blood. They moved with confidence, these daughters of alphas and betas, warriors who'd trained their whole lives for moments like this. Their eyes were bright, their skin flawless, their bodies honed weapons. They looked at Rhea and saw prey. "That's her," someone whispered. A tall blonde with ice blue eyes and the build of someone who could break bones without trying. The wolfless one. "You're kidding." This from a redhead whose arms were covered in scars that spoke of real battles, real survival. They actually let a human enter the trial? Apparently the Ironclaw pack sent her as payment for debts. So she's not even here voluntarily? Just got sold like cattle? Laughter, sharp and cutting. Rhea kept her eyes forward and kept walking. She'd survived 22 years of this. She could survive one more day. The dining hall was massive, with long tables that could seat hundreds. Most of the participants clustered together in small groups, already forming alliances, already strategizing. Rhea took a seat at the far end of an empty table and focused on her breakfast. Eggs, toast, fruit. She forced herself to eat even though her stomach was churning. Vivian had been right about needing strength. "You're brave or stupid," a voice said. Rhea looked up. A woman stood across from her, maybe 30 years old, with dark skin and gray eyes that had seen too much. She wore the same black clothes as everyone else, but on her they looked like armor. "Which one are you?" the woman continued, sitting down without invitation. "Does it matter?" Rhea asked. "Not really. You're dead either way." She bit into an apple. "I'm Kara, Beta's daughter from the Nightshade Pack. Been training for this since I was 12. "Congratulations. You're the wolfless one." News travels fast. "It's a small pool." Kara studied her with the kind of intensity that made Rhea want to squirm. "Why are you really here? Nobody volunteers for this willingly, but you especially, you've got no chance. So what's the angle?" "No angle. My father owed money. I'm the payment." "That's dark." "That's life." Kara laughed, sharp and sudden. "I like you. You're going to die horribly, but I like you." She stood up. "Word of advice. Stay away from the blonde and the redhead, Sienna and Mara. They've already decided you're an insult to the trial, and they're going to make an example of you." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because watching you get torn apart before we even meet the king would be boring." Kara walked away, still eating her apple. At 6:55, palace guards appeared to escort them to the throne room. The walk felt like a funeral march. They moved through corridors that got progressively darker, colder, more oppressive. The air itself felt heavy, like something was pressing down on them from above. Some of the women faltered, others pushed forward with gritted teeth. Rhea just kept breathing. The throne room doors were 20 feet tall, made of black wood carved with scenes of wolves hunting, wolves fighting, wolves dying. They opened slowly, revealing a space so vast that Rhea's breath caught. The room was circular, with walls that rose into shadow. Torches burned in sconces, their light barely making a dent in the darkness. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat a throne made of what looked like bones. Animal bones, wolf bones, maybe human bones. It was hard to tell in the flickering light. And on that throne sat the Alpha King, Alaric Thorn. Even from this distance, even in shadow, he radiated power like heat from a fire. He was massive, not just tall, but broad, built like violence given form. Dark hair fell past his shoulders, wild and unkempt. His face was all sharp angles and harder edges, beautiful in the way that storms were beautiful, deadly in the way that cliffs were deadly. But it was his eyes that stopped Rhea cold. They were amber, bright, and burning, and they held something that looked like madness, barely restrained. "Welcome," he said, and his voice rolled through the room like thunder. "To my trial." The 37 women stood in a semicircle before him. Some bowed their heads in respect. Others met his gaze with challenge. Rhea just stood there, frozen, because she was seeing something that didn't make sense. The king was chained. Not physically, there were no actual chains. But something held him to that throne, something invisible and suffocating. She could see it in the way he gripped the armrests, knuckles white, in the way his jaw clenched like he was biting back screams, in the way his whole body vibrated with the effort of staying still. He wasn't just cursed, he was caged. "You know why you're here," Alaric continued. "For 5 years I have been cursed, unable to shift, unable to lead my people properly, unable to claim a mate without destroying her." His lips pulled back in something that might have been a smile. "Many have tried to break this curse. All have failed." "What exactly is the trial?" Sienna asked, her voice carrying clearly. Bold, confident, everything an alpha's daughter should be. "The trial," Alaric said slowly, "is survival. For the next 7 days you will face tests. Some will be physical, some will be mental, some will be things you cannot prepare for, cannot train for, cannot fight." He leaned forward. "The curse feeds on strength, on dominance, on everything you've been taught makes you powerful. So the more you rely on your wolf, your training, your natural advantages, the faster you will break." Murmurs rippled through the group. That's insane, Mara said flatly. You're saying we can't use our wolves? I'm saying the curse will use your wolves against you. Alaric's eyes swept across them. It will take everything you think makes you strong and turn it into your weakness. Your wolf will become your prison. Your power will become your chains. Then what are we supposed to do? Someone asked. Figure it out or die trying. He stood, and the movement was so sudden that several women stepped back. The first test begins now. The floor beneath them shuddered. Rhea stumbled, caught herself. Around her, the other women were doing the same, confusion turning to alarm as the stone under their feet began to crack. What the? Kara started to say. The floor gave way. They fell. Rhea had just enough time to scream before she hit water, ice-cold water that punched the air from her lungs and dragged her down into darkness. She thrashed, disoriented, couldn't tell which way was up. Her clothes were heavy, pulling her deeper. Her lungs burned. Then something grabbed her. Not someone. Something, smooth and strong and definitely not human. It wrapped around her waist and pulled, and Rhea fought on instinct, kicking and clawing even as her vision started to gray out. The surface broke overhead. She gasped, choking on air and water both, and found herself staring at a creature that shouldn't exist. Half woman, half something else. Scales instead of skin, eyes that glowed faintly green, teeth that were just a little too sharp. Stop fighting, the creature said. Her voice sounded like water over rocks. I'm trying to help you. What? Rhea coughed. What are you? The first test. The creature smiled, and it wasn't comforting. Can you see the truth? That's what he wants to know. Around them, other women were surfacing. Some were being helped by similar creatures. Others were fighting them off, using their wolf strength to break free and swim for the edges of what Rhea now realized was a massive underground pool. There, Sienna shouted from somewhere to the right. The exit! Swim for it! The creatures tried to stop them, tried to pull them back to slow them down. But the warriors were strong, faster in the water than anything human-shaped had a right to be. They reached the far wall where stairs led up into torchlight and safety. Come on, Mara yelled, before they drag us under. The creature holding Rhea hadn't moved, just floated there, watching her with those strange green eyes. Why are you helping me? Rhea asked. Because you're the only one who asked, instead of assuming. The creature tilted her head. The others think we're enemies, monsters to be defeated. But we're not the test. The test is what you do when you don't understand what's happening. I don't understand what's happening. Exactly. The creature smiled again. So what will you do? Follow them to the obvious exit? Or stay here and figure out what you're actually supposed to be learning? Rhea looked at the stairs, looked at the creature, looked around the vast pool and noticed what she'd missed before. There were dozens of these creatures, all of them trying to communicate with the women, all of them being fought off or ignored. You're not here to drown us, Rhea said slowly. No, you're here to see if we'll listen. Getting warmer. And the stairs are a trap, the creature finished. The obvious exit usually is. As if to prove her point, screaming erupted from the stairs. The women who'd reached them were stumbling back, clutching at their heads, their faces twisted in agony. Whatever they'd encountered up there was worse than anything in the water. So what's the real exit? Rhea asked. The creature laughed. That's for you to figure out. But here's a hint. The king didn't fall into this curse by being strong. He fell by being afraid. She released Rhea and started to swim away. Fear makes you run, but sometimes the only way out is through the thing that scares you most. Then she dove beneath the surface and disappeared. Rhea treaded water, her mind racing. The thing that scared her most. What scared her? Being weak, being worthless, being exactly what everyone said she was. A mistake, a burden, something broken beyond fixing. But that wasn't right. Those weren't fears. Those were judgments, external things. What actually scared her deep down where she didn't like to look? Being alone, being forgotten, mattering to no one. She took a breath and dove. Down into darkness where the torchlight couldn't reach. Her lungs started to burn almost immediately. Her body screamed at her to surface, to breathe, to stop this suicide mission. But she kept swimming down, following some instinct she couldn't name. At the bottom of the pool, she found a door. It was small, almost hidden in the stone, and it was already open, water flowing through it into some space beyond. Rhea pulled herself through, her vision starting to tunnel, her chest on fire. She emerged into an air pocket, a small cave with just enough room to breathe. She gasped, her whole body shaking. But she was through. She'd found the real exit. A staircase led up from the cave, carved into living rock. Rhea climbed. The stairs went up and up, spiraling through stone, until finally they opened into a corridor she recognized. The palace. She was back in the palace. And she was alone. The corridor was silent. No guards, no other participants, no sound at all except her own ragged breathing and the drip of water from her soaked clothes. Interesting choice, Rhea spun. The Alpha King stood 20 feet away. Up close, he was even more terrifying, even more obviously caged. The madness in his amber eyes was sharper now, more focused, and it was focused entirely on her. "You're the wolfless one," he said. Not a question. "Yes? And yet you were the first to find the real exit. The only one, actually. The others are still in the pool, still trying to fight their way out through force." He moved closer, and Rhea's instinct screamed at her to run. "Why did you dive deeper instead of running for the obvious escape?" "Because I've spent my whole life trying to escape," Rhea said. Her voice was steadier than she felt. "It never works. The only way past something is through it. Through fear. Through whatever's trapping you." Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, maybe? Or surprise? "What's your name?" he asked. "Rhea Calder." "How old are you?" 22. "Why are you here?" "My father sold me to settle his debts." Alaric laughed. The sound was harsh and broken. "At least you're honest. The others all gave me speeches about honor and duty and being chosen by destiny." He circled her slowly, studying her like she was a puzzle. "You understand you're going to die here?" "Probably. Doesn't that scare you?" "I've been dying slowly for 22 years. At least this will be faster." He stopped circling, stood directly in front of her, close enough that she could see the scars on his hands, the shadows under his eyes, the exhaustion that went deeper than skin. "The curse feeds on strength," he said quietly, "on dominance, on the need to control. Every warrior who's come here, every powerful she-wolf who thought she could break me, they all fell into the same trap. They tried to dominate the curse, to overpower it, to be stronger than it. And it broke them. It consumed them, used their own strength to destroy them from the inside out." His jaw tightened. "But you have no wolf, no natural strength to corrupt, no dominance to turn against you." "I'm just weak," Rhea said flatly. "That's what you mean. No?" He leaned closer, and his voice dropped to something almost gentle, almost human. "You're the first person to walk into my palace without armor, without weapons, without pretending to be something you're not." His hand came up, and for a second Rhea thought he might touch her face, but he stopped himself. "That might be the most dangerous thing I've ever seen." "I don't understand." "You will." He stepped back. "The trial continues tomorrow, same time. Don't be late." "What about the others?" "They'll find their own way out. Eventually. Or they won't." He turned to leave, then paused. "Rhea Calder, the girl without a wolf. I'm going to destroy you. You know that, right?" "Everyone destroys me eventually," Rhea said. "You'll just have to get in line." He laughed again. Then he was gone, disappeared into shadow so quickly it was like he'd never been there at all. Rhea stood alone in the corridor, dripping and shaking and alive. She'd survived the first test. Barely. And she had no idea how she'd done it. That night, back in her room, she finally allowed herself to fall apart. The adrenaline faded and left her hollow, trembling, aware of how close she'd come to drowning in that pool. The other participants trickled back over the next few hours, all of them soaked and furious and traumatized. She heard them in the hallway arguing about what had happened, blaming each other for the failure. Nobody came to her door. Nobody asked if she was okay. She was used to that. At midnight, someone knocked. Rhea opened the door to find Kara standing there, wrapped in a blanket, her hair still wet. "You made it out first," Kara said. "Yeah." "How?" "I stopped fighting and started listening." Kara stared at her. "That's it? That's your strategy? Just give up?" "Not give up. Just stop assuming I know what I'm fighting." Rhea leaned against the door frame. Everyone else saw those creatures and thought enemy. I saw them and thought, I don't know what this is. That made all the difference. You're either a genius or you're insane. Can't I be both? Kara smiled. Fair point. She started to leave, then turned back. The others are planning something. Sienna and Mara and about 10 others. They think you cheated somehow, think you don't belong here. They're going to try to get you disqualified before the next test. How? Don't know yet, but watch your back. They're not going to fight fair. Nobody ever does. After Kara left, Rhea lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. She thought about the king's words, about the curse feeding on strength, about armor and weapons and pretending to be something you're not. She thought about Garrett's rejection, her father's betrayal, her mother's cold dismissal, every moment of her life when she'd been told she wasn't enough. And she realized something that felt like power. They'd been wrong about what strength was. Strength wasn't dominance, wasn't control, wasn't the ability to force the world to bend to your will. Strength was surviving when every logical reason said you should break. Strength was looking at the truth, even when it was ugly, even when it hurt, and not flinching away. Strength was being exactly what you were, without apology, without armor, without lies. The king had seen it. That's why he'd called her dangerous. Because for 5 years he'd been surrounded by warriors who thought strength meant never showing weakness. And here she was, made entirely of weakness, refusing to pretend otherwise. That was the real test, not the water or the creatures or the hidden door. The test was being honest when everyone else was performing. Rhea closed her eyes and let exhaustion take her. Tomorrow there would be more tests, more opportunities to fail, more chances for the other participants to sabotage her, or the curse to break her, or the king to destroy her. But tonight, just for tonight, she let herself feel something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Small and fragile and probably doomed, but hope nonetheless. The second day began with blood. Rhea woke to screaming, raw animal sounds that jerked her out of sleep and sent her stumbling to the door. The hallway was chaos. Women running, shouting, some of them half-shifted with claws extended and eyes glowing gold. What's happening? Rhea grabbed the nearest person, a slight woman with dark hair and terror in her eyes. The blonde, Sienna, she attacked someone. Just went crazy. Started shifting in the middle of the night and tried to tear Elena apart. Why? Nobody knows. Elena was just sleeping and then... The woman shuddered. There was so much blood. Guards appeared, heavily armed, and hauled Sienna away. She was still fighting, still snarling, her eyes wild and unfocused. Whatever had broken inside her, it had broken completely. Elena was carried out on a stretcher, her throat bandaged, her face white as paper. She'll live, one of the guards said to no one in particular, but she's out of the trial, too injured to continue. The hallway slowly emptied, women returning to their rooms, shaken and silent. Rhea caught Kara's eye across the corridor. This is what the king meant, Kara said quietly, the curse using our strength against us. Sienna was one of the strongest here. Now she's gone. What do you think triggered it? Fear, rage, pride. Kara shook her head. Take your pick. The curse finds whatever you're hiding and drags it into the light. Breakfast was subdued. Only 34 participants remain now, Sienna and Elena both gone, one woman having fled in the night. The loss hung over the dining hall like smoke. Mara sat at the head of one table, surrounded by her allies. She caught Rhea's eye and smiled. It wasn't friendly. Heard you got lucky yesterday, Mara called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. Rhea didn't respond. Found some secret exit that nobody else could find. Convenient. Mara stood up, walked closer. Makes me wonder if you had help. If maybe you're not playing fair. I followed the rules, Rhea said quietly. Did you? Because it seems suspicious that the weakest participant, the one without even a wolf, somehow finishes first, while the rest of us, actual warriors, got trapped. Mara's smile sharpened. Unless the test wasn't actually fair, unless it was designed to favor someone specific. You think the cursed Alpha King designed his trial to help a random wolfless girl he's never met? Rhea asked. That's your theory? I think something's not right, and I think you need to prove you belong here. I don't have to prove anything to you. No? Mara's hand shot out, grabbed Rhea's wrist. Her grip was crushing. Then prove it to all of us. Right now. Shift. The dining hall went silent. I can't shift, Rhea said. Try. I'm telling you I can't. Then you don't belong here. Mara's grip tightened. And if you don't belong here, you're just taking up space that could go to someone worthy, someone who actually has a chance. Let her go. Kara stood up. She passed the test. That's all that matters. Stay out of this, Nightshade. Or what? You'll attack me like Sienna attacked Elena? Kara's voice was cold. The curse is already picking you apart, Mara. I can see it. You're so desperate to prove you're strong that you're about to snap. Mara's eyes flashed gold. For a second, Rhea thought she was going to shift right there. Consequences be damned. Then Vivian appeared in the doorway. The king is ready for day 2, she announced. All participants to the throne room, now. Mara released Rhea's wrist and walked away without another word. Rhea's wrist was already bruising. She rubbed it absently as they filed out of the dining hall, Kara falling into step beside her. She's right about one thing, Kara murmured. You shouldn't be succeeding, not logically, but you are, and that's making people nervous. I'm just doing what makes sense. To you. But wolves don't think like you do. We're taught to fight first, think later, trust our instincts, not our minds. Kara glanced at her. You do the opposite, and somehow it's working. The throne room looked different today. The bone throne was still there, but the floor had been replaced with sand. Deep sand, the kind that shifted under your feet and made balance difficult. And standing around the edges of the room were wolves. Real wolves. Massive ones with eyes that gleamed in the torchlight and teeth that could crush bone. Alaric sat on his throne, looking even more exhausted than yesterday. The shadows under his eyes were darker, the tension in his jaw tighter. Day 2, he said. His voice was rough, like he'd been screaming. Yesterday you faced the unknown. Today you face the known. Your own nature. He gestured to the wolves. These are my pack. The strongest warriors in the kingdom. Each of you will face one of them in combat. Whoever yields first loses. Combat? One woman asked. We're supposed to fight them? You're supposed to survive them. Alaric's smile was sharp. The curse wants dominance, wants you to prove you're stronger, so the more you fight, the more you try to win. The worse it will be for you. That's impossible, Mara said. You're telling us to fight but not try to win? I'm telling you that winning is losing. Dominance is defeat. Strength is weakness. He leaned forward. Figure it out. One by one, the participants were called forward. One by one, they faced the wolves. And one by one, they lost. Some tried to fight with everything they had, shifting into their own wolf forms, using claws and teeth and savage strength. Those women lasted maybe 30 seconds before the palace wolves overwhelmed them. The curse magnified their aggression, turned it against them until they couldn't tell ally from enemy. Others tried to be clever, using the sand, trying to outmaneuver instead of outfight. They lasted longer but still fell. The wolves were too fast, too experienced. A few tried to submit immediately, dropping to the ground and baring their throats. But the curse punished that too, cowardice instead of dominance, but fear was just another form of weakness to exploit. Rhea watched it all and felt her stomach sink. There was no winning move. Fight and lose. Flee and lose. Submit and lose. Rhea Calder, Alaric called. She walked into the sand on shaking legs. Her opponent was a gray wolf, scarred and massive, with eyes that had killed before and would kill again. It circled her slowly, measuring her. Rhea didn't move. The wolf lunged. Instead of dodging, instead of running, Rhea did something nobody expected. She sat down, just dropped cross-legged into the sand and waited. The wolf stopped inches from her throat, confused. I can't fight you, Rhea said quietly. I don't have a wolf. I don't have claws or teeth or strength. If you want to kill me, you can. I won't stop you. The wolf growled, snapped its jaws near her face. Rhea didn't flinch, didn't look away. But I'm not going to pretend I'm something I'm not, she continued. I'm not going to fight a battle I can't win just to satisfy someone else's idea of what I should be. If that makes me weak, fine. I've been weak my whole life. At least I'm honest about it. The wolf stared at her. Then it sat down too. The throne room erupted in confused murmuring. What is she doing? Someone whispered. Is that allowed? Alaric stood up, walked down from his throne, across the sand, until he stood over Rhea and the wolf. Why aren't you fighting? He asked. Because I'll lose, Rhea said simply, and pretending otherwise would be a lie. So you're giving up? No, I'm accepting reality. She looked up at him. The curse feeds on the gap between what you are and what you pretend to be, doesn't it? The bigger that gap, the more it has to work with. Warriors pretending they're not afraid. Alphas pretending they're invincible. Strong wolves pretending they don't have weaknesses. Alaric's eyes widened slightly. I don't have that gap, Rhea continued. I'm weak and I know it. I'm scared and I admit it. I can't win and I accept it. There's nothing for the curse to exploit because I'm not hiding anything. The silence in the throne room was absolute. Then Alaric started laughing, real laughter, not the broken sound from before. It rolled through the room like thunder. 5 years, he said. 5 years and hundreds of warriors, and you're the first person to actually understand. He held out his hand. Stand up. Rhea took his hand. His grip was warm, solid, alive. You pass, Alaric said. Not because you won, because you understood there was nothing to win. He turned to address the room. The rest of you, learn from this, or don't. Either way, tomorrow's test will be harder. As the participants filed out, Mara shoved past Rhea hard enough to knock her sideways. You think you're clever, Mara hissed, playing the victim, making the king feel sorry for you, but it won't work forever. I'm not playing anything, Rhea said. We'll see. That night, someone tried to kill her. Rhea woke to hands around her throat, strong hands, wolf strong, choking the air from her lungs. She thrashed, clawed, couldn't breathe. Her attacker's face was hidden in shadow, but she could smell the rage coming off them in waves. You don't belong here, a voice snarled. Female. Familiar. You're ruining everything. Black spots danced across Rhea's vision. Her lungs screamed. Then the door crashed open. Kara tackled the attacker off the bed. They hit the floor hard, rolling, fighting. Rhea gasped for air, her throat burning. Guards arrived, pulled Kara and the attacker apart. The attacker was a woman Rhea barely knew, one of Mara's group, eyes wild with the same madness that had taken Sienna. She doesn't belong, the woman screamed as the guards dragged her away. She's cheating. She's ruining it for everyone. Kara helped Rhea sit up. You okay? Rhea nodded, still coughing. The curse is spreading faster than I thought, Kara said quietly. 2 participants gone mad in 2 days. At this rate, there won't be anyone left by the end of the week. Why hasn't it affected you? Who says it hasn't? Kara's smile was strained. I'm just better at hiding it. She left. Rhea sat alone in the dark, rubbing her bruised throat, and realized something terrible. The other participants weren't her real enemy. The curse was eating them from the inside, turning their strength into weapons pointed at themselves. But she was still in danger, because even if the curse couldn't touch her directly, it could turn everyone else against her. And sooner or later, the numbers would catch up. On the 3rd morning, only 28 participants remained. 9 women were missing at breakfast, not dead, not eliminated, just gone. Their rooms empty, their belongings untouched, as if they'd simply evaporated in the night. The curse took them, whispered a woman with braided black hair. Her hand shook as she tried to hold her coffee cup. I heard them screaming, all night screaming, and when I checked this morning, nothing. Rhea sat at her usual corner table, her throat still bruised from the attack. She'd barely slept, jumping at every sound, convinced that another pair of hands would find her in the dark. But the second attack never came. Just silence and absence. Kara dropped into the seat across from her. She looked worse than yesterday, dark circles under her eyes, a tremor in her jaw that suggested her wolf was fighting for control. We need to talk, Kara said quietly. Somewhere private. They slipped out of the dining hall while the others were distracted by the news of the missing women. Found an empty corridor near the east wing, far from where the guards usually patrolled. The curse is accelerating, Kara said without preamble. It's not just targeting the strong anymore. It's taking anyone who shows weakness, anyone who hesitates. Last night I felt it, like something was pulling at my mind, trying to drag me somewhere dark. How did you resist? I didn't. Not really. I just... Kara stopped, her jaw working. I thought about you, about how you sat down in that arena instead of fighting, and I realized I've been doing everything wrong. Fighting when I should have been surrendering. Trying to be strong when strength is exactly what's killing us. So, what do we do? I don't know, but we're running out of time. At this rate, there won't be anyone left by day 7. Kara grabbed Ria's arm. You need to figure out what this curse actually wants, because you're the only one it's not touching. That has to mean something. Before Ria could respond, footsteps echoed down the corridor. They pressed themselves against the wall as palace guards marched past, escorting another participant, this one in restraints, eyes vacant, drool running down her chin. 3 more went mad overnight, one guard said to the other. Vivian wants them in the cells before they hurt themselves. After they passed, Kara released a shaky breath. See what I mean? We're dropping like flies. The throne room felt different today. The air was thick, oppressive, like breathing through wet wool. And the king, Alaric looked barely human. He sat slumped on his throne, head in his hands, his whole body shaking with the effort of holding something back. When he finally looked up, his amber eyes were more gold than before, more animal, and the madness in them had sharpened to something that looked like agony. Day 3, he rasped. His voice was wrong, layered, like 2 people speaking at once. Only 19 of you left. Disappointing. This isn't a trial, Mara said from the front of the group. Her voice was hard, accusing. This is a slaughter. You're killing us for entertainment. I'm not killing you. Alaric's laugh was broken glass. You're killing yourselves. I told you, the curse feeds on what you hide. Your strength, your fear, your pride. Every time you pretend to be something you're not, it gets stronger. Then tell us how to beat it, another woman shouted. Stop playing games and just tell us. I can't. Something that might have been genuine pain crossed his face. Because the curse won't let me, every time I try to help, to guide, to give you the answer. He gripped the armrest so hard the bone cracked. It punishes me, makes it worse. So I can only watch you fail, over and over, while it feeds on your fear and grows stronger. Ria stepped forward before she could stop herself. What happens when it gets strong enough? Alaric's eyes found hers across the room. It breaks free. Spreads beyond the palace, consumes the kingdom, turns every wolf into the same kind of monster I'm becoming. His smile was terrible. And it's close now, so close I can taste it. How close? 3 days, maybe 4. After that, he shook his head. It won't matter who passes the trial. There won't be anything left to win. The room erupted, women shouting, demanding answers, some already backing toward the door. Today's test, Alaric said, his voice cutting through the chaos, is simple. Survive the night. What does that mean? Kara asked. It means when the sun sets, you're on your own. No guards, no rules, just you and everyone else, and the curse feeding on whatever's left of your sanity. He stood, and everyone took a step back. The throne room doors will seal at dusk. Whatever happens inside these walls is between you and your demons. The ones who survive until dawn continue. The rest, he didn't finish, didn't need to. That's insane, Mara said, but her voice wavered. That's survival. Alaric walked down from his throne, moving through the group like a shark through water. He stopped in front of Ria. You've done well so far, better than I expected. But tonight we'll test something different. What? Whether you can save people who don't want to be saved. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along her bruised throat. Someone tried to kill you last night. It wasn't a question. Yes, Ria said, and you didn't fight back. Didn't report it to the guards, didn't demand justice. His eyes searched hers. Why? Because she was already being destroyed. Fighting back would have just made it worse. For her or for you? Both. Alaric smiled. It was the first genuine smile she'd seen from him, and it transformed his face into something almost human. You understand. Finally, someone understands. Then he was gone. Disappeared through a side door, leaving the 19 remaining women alone in the throne room. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Mara turned on Ria. This is your fault, she snarled. All of it. Ever since you got here, everything's been wrong. The tests are impossible. The curse is stronger. Women are dying. I didn't do anything, Ria said quietly. Exactly. You don't do anything. You just sit there being weak and pathetic while the rest of us fight and die. Mara's eyes were starting to glow. You're the problem. You're what the curse wants. And if we eliminate you, maybe everything goes back to normal. That's not how curses work, Kara said, stepping between them. You don't know that. None of us know anything except that she— Mara jabbed a finger at Rhea— is still here while stronger, better women are gone. That's not natural. That's not right. So what are you suggesting? Another woman asked. We kill her? I'm suggesting we do what needs to be done to survive. The group split immediately. Half backing Mara, weapons of flesh and bone already manifesting as they allowed their wolves closer to the surface. The other half stepping away, uncertain, afraid of what they were becoming. This is exactly what the curse wants, Rhea said. It wants us to tear each other apart. Can't you see that? All I see, Mara said, is a human who doesn't belong here, and I'm going to fix that mistake. She lunged. Kara met her halfway, the two women colliding in a tangle of claws and teeth. Others joined the fight, some defending Rhea, others attacking her, most just fighting whoever was closest because the curse had already eroded the difference between ally and enemy. Rhea ran. She crashed through the throne room doors and into the corridors beyond, her heart hammering. Behind her the sounds of violence echoed, screaming, snarling, the wet crunch of bone breaking. She had to find Alaric, had to make him stop this before everyone killed each other. But the palace was a maze, and she was lost within minutes. Corridors that should have led somewhere familiar twisted into strange configurations. Doors opened onto rooms that hadn't existed yesterday. The curse was spreading, warping reality itself. Looking for me? Rhea spun. Alaric stood at the end of the hallway, leaning against the wall like standing upright took more effort than he had left. You have to stop them, Rhea said. They're going to kill each other. I know. Then do something. I can't. He pushed off the wall, walked toward her. The curse won't let me interfere once a test has begun. That's part of the rules. What rules? You're the king, and the curse is older than kingdoms, stronger than any single wolf. He was close now, close enough that she could see the way his pupils were dilating and contracting like he was fighting for control of his own eyes. I told you, I'm trapped. Have been for 5 years, and every trial, every test, every woman who comes here thinking she can save me, they just make it worse. Then why keep doing this? Why keep bringing people here to die? Because I'm selfish. The admission came out raw. Because some small, stupid part of me keeps hoping that one of them will figure it out. We'll see what I can't say. We'll break this thing before it breaks everything. And if they don't, then I become the monster the curse wants me to be. And everyone dies. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear with a gentleness that seemed impossible from hands that could tear steel. You're different, Rhea. I felt it the moment you walked into my throne room. You don't have a wolf, so the curse can't use your animal nature against you. You don't have pride, so it can't use your ego. You don't have power, so it can't corrupt what you don't possess. I'm just weak. No, you're honest, and honesty is the one thing the curse can't touch. His hand lingered on her cheek. That's why you scare me more than any warrior who's ever stood in that room. I don't understand. The curse was born from a lie I told myself about what strength means, what power requires, what a king has to be. His voice dropped to a whisper. And you are the walking, breathing antithesis of that lie. You are proof that survival doesn't require dominance, that living doesn't require winning, that mattering doesn't require power. Rhea's throat was tight. What was the lie? Before he could answer, an explosion of sound erupted from somewhere below. More screaming, more violence. They're tearing each other apart, Alaric said flatly, just like all the others. Then help me stop them. I told you I can't. Not directly, but you can tell me what I need to know. Rhea grabbed his arms, forced him to look at her. What breaks the curse? There has to be a way. Otherwise, why would you keep trying? Something flickered in his eyes. Fear, maybe, or hope. A promise, he said finally. The curse was born from a broken promise. To break it, someone has to make a promise and keep it. Something impossible, something that requires giving up everything. What kind of promise? That's the trick. It is different for everyone. The curse reads what you value most and demands you sacrifice it. His hands came up to cover hers. The warriors valued strength, so it demanded they become weak. The alphas valued control, so it demanded they submit. Every time they chose themselves over the promise, and every time they failed. What did it demand from you? Alaric's smile was broken. Everything. It demanded I give up being king, give up my power, give up my wolf, give up any chance of having a mate, a family, a future. In exchange, it would break. He released her hands. And I refused, because I was afraid of being nothing, of mattering to no one, of losing the only thing that made me matter. Rhea stared at him. You chose the curse over freedom. I chose what I knew over what I feared, and I've been paying for it ever since. Another scream, closer this time. I have to go back, Rhea said. I have to try to stop them. You'll die. Maybe, but I can't just hide while they kill each other. She started toward the stairs that led back down to the throne room. That would make me just as much of a coward as you. The words hung in the air between them. Then Alaric laughed. You're right. You're absolutely right. He caught up to her in 2 strides. I can't help directly, but I can make sure you have a fighting chance. He pulled a blade from his belt, silver, gleaming, etched with symbols that hurt to look at. This can cut through the curse's influence. Won't kill it, but it'll give anyone touched by madness a moment of clarity. Use it carefully. You only get 1 chance per person. Rhea took the blade. It was heavier than it looked, warm to the touch. Why are you helping me? Because you called me a coward. And you're right. His hand lingered on hers for just a moment. And because I think you might actually survive this. Against all logic, all odds, all reason, I think you might make it. And if I do, then I'll tell you the rest of the truth. The part that makes everything worse. He stepped back. Now go, before there's no one left to save. Rhea ran. The throne room was a war zone. Blood on the marble floors, bodies, some moving, some not. The curse had fully taken hold now, turning wolf against wolf, friend against friend. Women who'd sat together at breakfast were now tearing each other's throats out, and in the center of it all stood Mara, her eyes pure gold, her wolf fully manifested and rampaging. She'd killed 3 already, was working on a 4th. Mara! Rhea shouted. The wolf's head snapped around. Recognition flickered, then drowned beneath madness. You, Mara snarled. All your fault. All of it. She charged. Rhea didn't run, didn't fight, just stood there with the silver blade held loosely at her side, watching death sprint toward her on 4 legs. At the last possible second, she stepped aside and brought the blade up in a clean arc. It caught Mara across the shoulder. Not deep, barely a scratch, but the silver flared and Mara stumbled, her wolf form flickering. For just a moment, the woman beneath the beast surfaced. What? Mara gasped. What's happening to me? The curse, Rhea said quickly. It's using your strength against you, using your wolf to destroy you from the inside. I can't stop it. Mara's body was shaking, caught between human and wolf, sanity and madness. Then don't try to stop it. Let it go. Rhea dropped the blade, held out her empty hands. You don't have to be strong right now. You don't have to win. You just have to survive. I don't know how to not fight. Then learn, right now, right here. Rhea took a step closer. I'm weak and pathetic, and everything you said I was. And I'm still here. So maybe strength isn't what keeps you alive. Maybe it's something else. Mara's wolf flickered again. Her eyes shifted from gold back to human brown. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, me too. I don't want to die. Then stop trying to win. Stop trying to prove you're stronger than the curse. Rhea held out her hand. Just be human for a minute, that's all. Just 1 minute of honesty. Mara stared at the offered hand. Then, slowly, she reached out and took it. Her wolf disappeared. She collapsed onto the blood-slicked floor, sobbing, all her carefully constructed armor finally shattered. Around them, the fighting was slowing. Other women watching, seeing. Kara appeared at Rhea's elbow, limping, one arm hanging useless at her side. What did you do? I stopped pretending I had the answers. Rhea looked around at the carnage. We all need to stop pretending. How? By making a choice. Right now. All of us. Rhea raised her voice, addressing everyone who was still conscious. The curse feeds on lies, on the gap between what we are and what we pretend to be. So what if we just stopped lying? That's insane, someone said. No. Fighting each other while a curse destroys us from the inside. That's insane. She gestured at the broken women around her. This is surrender, and maybe that's what we actually need. Surrender to what? To the truth. Rhea's voice was steady, clear. I'll go first. My name is Rhea Calder. I'm 22 years old. I don't have a wolf. My own mate rejected me in front of our entire pack. My father sold me to pay his debts. I'm weak, I'm scared, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm probably going to die here, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Silence. Then Kara spoke up. My name is Kara. I'm 30 years old. I trained for this my whole life, and I'm terrified that even with all that training, I'm not good enough. I'm terrified that I'll fail, that I'll die alone, that I won't matter. Another woman, younger, with tear tracks on her face. My name is Isla. I'm 19. I volunteered for this because I wanted to prove I was brave. But I'm not brave. I'm just desperate to be something other than forgettable. One by one, they spoke, stripping away armor, admitting fear, revealing the humans beneath the wolves. And as they did, something changed in the air. The oppressive weight lifted slightly. The curse's grip loosened. It wasn't much, but it was something. Rhea helped Mara to her feet. Can you walk? I think so. Good. Because we need to find the others who ran. Bring everyone together before nightfall. If we're going to survive until dawn, we need to do it as a group. No more fighting each other. Why are you helping me? Mara asked. After everything I did. Because I've been where you are. Destroyed by fear. Broken by expectations. And someone helped me once. Rhea thought about Rowan, the Iron Claw wolf who'd given her a card to a safe house. I'm just passing it forward. They spent the rest of the afternoon gathering the scattered participants. Found 7 hiding in various corners of the palace. 3 more in the cells, released by guards who were just as eager to see this trial end. By the time the sun started setting, they had 17 women in the throne room. 17 out of the original 37. We've lost more than half, Kara observed. But we haven't lost everyone. Rhea looked around at the exhausted, terrified faces. And we're going to make it through tonight. Together. How can you be sure? I can't, but I know that tearing each other apart is exactly what the curse wants. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to protect each other. As dusk fell, the throne room doors sealed with a sound like a tomb closing. The lights went out one by one, leaving only flickering torchlight. And in the darkness, the curse began to whisper. It spoke with voices they recognized, dead loved ones, rejected mates, disappointed parents. Every fear, every regret, every moment of shame, given form and voice in the dark. Women started crying. Some collapsed. Others lashed out at invisible enemies. Don't listen, Rhea said loudly. It's not real. It's just the curse trying to break you. But her own voice came back to her, mocking. Just the curse? Just like you're just weak? Just like you're just worthless? Garrett's voice. I rejected you because you're broken. Because you're a mistake. Her father. We sold you because you're worth less than $20,000. Less than our debts. Less than nothing. Rhea squeezed her eyes shut. Not real. Not real. Not... A hand found hers in the dark. Kara. Hold on. We all hold on together. Another hand. Mara. I'm sorry. For everything. I'm so sorry. More hands joining. A circle forming in the dark. 17 women holding on to each other while the curse tried to tear them apart from the inside. Tell the truth, Rhea said through gritted teeth. Whatever it's saying, tell the truth back. I'm afraid, someone sobbed. I'm broken, another voice. I'm not enough. I'm lost. I'm dying. All their truths spoken into the darkness. And slowly, gradually, the voices began to quiet. Because the curse fed on lies. On pretense. On the gap between reality and performance. And they weren't performing anymore. They were just surviving. Honest and afraid, and together. The night stretched on forever. Hours that felt like years. But the circle held. When dawn finally broke through the high windows, they were still there. All 17 of them, exhausted, traumatized, but alive. The throne room doors unsealed. Alaric stood on the other side. He looked shocked. Actually, genuinely shocked. "You all survived," he said. "We did," Rhea confirmed. That's never happened before, not even close." He walked into the room, studying them like they were creatures he'd never seen before. "How?" "We stopped fighting, started being honest instead." Rhea met his eyes. "Turns out your curse can't touch the truth." Something crossed his face. Understanding, fear, and something else. Hope, maybe, or terror at what hope might mean. "There are 4 days left," he said quietly. 4 more tests. We'll survive those too." "You can't possibly know that." "No, but I believe it anyway." Rhea stood up, her legs shaking. "Because we're not alone anymore. And that makes all the difference." Alaric stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something none of them expected. He knelt. The Alpha King, the cursed ruler of the Wolf Kingdom, dropped to one knee in front of a wolfless girl and bowed his head. "Teach me," he said. "Teach me how to do what you did. Because I've been fighting this curse for 5 years, and you've learned more in 3 days than I have in all that time." Rhea's breath caught. "I don't know how to teach what I don't understand myself. Then we'll figure it out together." He looked up, and his amber eyes were clearer than she'd ever seen them. "Because, for the first time since this curse took hold, I actually think there might be a way out." "There is," Rhea said. She didn't know how she knew, but she was certain. "The promise. You have to make the promise and keep it. I already told you what it costs, and I'm telling you to pay it." She held out her hand. "Give up being king. Give up your power. Give up everything you think makes you matter. And I promise." Her voice was steady, certain. "I promise you'll still matter. To me. To them. To everyone you've tried so hard to protect. You can't promise that." "Watch me." Alaric stared at her outstretched hand. Behind them, the other women were watching, waiting. The whole world balanced on this moment, this choice. Finally, Alaric reached out and took her hand. "Okay," he said. "I'll make the promise. I'll give up everything." His grip tightened. "But you have to make one too." "What?" "That you'll stay. That you won't run when this gets hard. That you'll see this through to whatever end comes." His eyes held hers. "Because I'm about to destroy everything I am, and I need to know someone will be there to witness what comes after." Rhea should have said no. Should have remembered that promises to kings were dangerous, that she'd already been destroyed once by believing in someone who claimed to want her. But she was tired of being afraid. "I promise," she said. The moment the words left her mouth, something shifted in the air, a sound like chains breaking, a feeling like pressure releasing. And Alaric screamed. He collapsed, still gripping her hand, his body convulsing. The curse was fighting back, trying to stop what was happening, trying to maintain its hold. But Alaric had made his choice. Light erupted from where their hands joined, silver and gold mixed together, burning away the shadows that had wrapped around him for 5 years. His wolf, trapped for so long, finally broke free. Not in violence, in release. The transformation was agony. Rhea could see it in every line of his face. But he didn't let go. Neither did she. When it was over, when the light faded and the screaming stopped, Alaric lay on the floor gasping for breath. And the curse was gone. Not broken. Not defeated. Just gone. Like smoke dispersing in sunlight. "You did it," Rhea said. "You actually did it." Alaric laughed, wild and free. "We did it, together." But as the other women crowded around, celebrating, Rhea noticed something they didn't. The throne was crumbling, not just the bone throne, the entire palace. Cracks spreading across the walls, the floor, the ceiling. "Alaric," she said quietly, "what's happening?" He sat up, saw what she was seeing, and his expression went grim. The curse held the palace together, held the kingdom together. Without it, he stopped, looked at her. "Everything falls apart." "What do you mean?" "I mean, the price for my freedom is everyone else's destruction." His voice was hollow. "The curse was the only thing keeping the kingdom stable, and I just broke it. Around them, the palace began to collapse, and Rhea realized, with terrible clarity, what Alaric had meant about the truth making everything worse. They'd won. They'd broken the curse. And in doing so, they'd doomed them all. The ceiling split open above them with a sound like the world breaking. "Move!" Kara screamed, grabbing the nearest woman and diving sideways as a chunk of marble the size of a cart crashed down where they'd been standing. Chaos erupted, women running, screaming, scrambling for the exits as the palace collapsed around them. But the doors were sealed, the curse's final revenge, or maybe its final test. Rhea stood frozen in the center of it all, still gripping Alaric's hand, her mind racing through impossible calculations. The curse had held the palace together, the kingdom together, which meant the whole mountain, Alaric said, reading her expression. The palace was built into the mountain 500 years ago when the first king needed a stronghold. But the mountain was unstable, riddled with caves and fault lines. The curse was woven into the foundation itself, holding everything in place. Without it, another tremor. Worse this time. Rhea could hear the mountain screaming. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Minutes. Maybe less." Alaric tried to stand, stumbled. Breaking the curse had cost him. His face was gray, his breathing shallow. "I'm sorry, I didn't know. The ones who cursed me never said—" "Of course they didn't." Rhea's voice was sharp. "A curse that punishes you for breaking it? That's the point. They wanted you trapped forever." Well, they succeeded. Mara appeared beside them, blood running down her face from a gash across her forehead. "Because we're all about to be buried alive." "No!" Rhea released Alaric's hand and turned to face the group of terrified women. "We're not dying here, not after everything we survived." "The doors are sealed," someone shouted. "Then we make new doors." Rhea looked at Kara. "You said the curse can't touch truth, right? That honesty is what kept us alive last night?" "Yeah, but what does that have to do with—" "The curse built lies on top of lies, made strength into weakness, power into prison. But if we strip away the lies, Rhea's mind was working faster than her mouth could keep up. If we expose the truth underneath, maybe we can unmake what it made." "That's insane," Mara said. "So was sitting down in an arena instead of fighting. So was holding hands in the dark while the curse tried to destroy us. We've been doing insane things since we got here." Rhea raised her voice over the sound of crumbling stone. "And we're still alive. So let's try one more." "What exactly are you suggesting?" Kara asked. "The palace is held together by lies, by the curse's twisted version of what strength and power mean. So we tell the truth, loudly, clearly, all of us together." Rhea turned to Alaric. "Starting with you." He looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "What truth?" "The one you've been hiding for 5 years. The real reason you accepted the curse in the first place." Rhea crouched beside him. "You said it demanded you give up being king, give up your power, give up your wolf. But that's not what it actually wanted, is it? Those were just symptoms. What did the curse really want you to give up?" Alaric's jaw clenched. "Does it matter now?" "It's the only thing that matters." Rhea grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. "The curse fed on the gap between what you were and what you pretended to be. So what were you pretending?" A massive crack split the floor between them. Women scattered, trying to find stable ground that didn't exist. "We're running out of time," Isla screamed. "Tell me," Rhea insisted. Alaric closed his eyes. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible over the destruction. "I wasn't supposed to be king. My brother was. Stronger, smarter, better in every way. But he died in a challenge 3 weeks before his coronation, and the kingdom needed a king, so they chose me. Second son, backup plan, disappointment. And you believed them. Why wouldn't I? It was true. I was never supposed to lead. I was just there, available. Not good, just good enough." His eyes opened, amber bright with unshed tears. "The curse appeared the day of my coronation, offered me a deal, accept its power, become the kind of king my brother would have been. And in exchange, I'd never have to face the truth about what I really was." "Which was?" "Weak, afraid, completely unprepared to rule a kingdom." The words came out broken. "So I took the deal. Wore the curse like armor. Let everyone believe I was strong when really I was just hiding." The palace shuddered, But something changed in the air, a subtle shift like a locked door clicking open. Keep going, Rhea said. For 5 years I've been the cursed king, powerful and terrible and alone. And I told myself it was the curse's fault, that I was trapped by external forces. His laugh was bitter. But the truth is, I chose it. Every day I chose the curse over facing what I actually was. And what are you actually? Scared. So scared of failing, of being inadequate, of proving everyone right about me being second best. He looked at the women around them. Every trial was me hoping someone would save me, would be strong enough to break the curse without me having to actually change. But you, his gaze found Rhea's. You didn't save me. You made me save myself. Made me admit that the cage was always in here. He pressed a hand to his chest. And I hated you for it. Still do a little. Because you're everything I pretended not to be. Weak and honest and still somehow stronger than I've ever been. Ball meat. The floor stabilized. Not completely, but enough that people stopped screaming. It's working, Kara breathed. The truth is actually working. Then we all do it, Rhea said. She stood, addressed the group. Everyone, right now, say the thing you've been hiding, the truth you buried so deep you convinced yourself it wasn't real. Why should we? Mara demanded. He's the king. His secrets built this place. Ours won't. The curse didn't just trap him. It trapped all of us the moment we walked through those doors. Rhea pointed at the sealed exit. It showed us tests designed to break us because we were already breaking ourselves. Every lie we told, every fear we hid, every moment we pretended to be something we weren't. The curse fed on all of it. So if we want out, we stop feeding it. Silence. The kind that pressed down like physical weight. Then Kara stepped forward. My name is Kara. I'm 30 years old. I've trained my whole life to be a warrior. She took a breath. And I hate it. I hate fighting. I hate violence. I hate the way my wolf feels when it kills. But I kept doing it because it was the only thing that made my father proud. The only thing that made me matter in a pack that values strength above everything else. Another shift. The cracks in the walls stopped spreading. Isla was next. I volunteered for this trial because I wanted to die. Not to prove I was brave, to escape. I'm 19 and I've already tried to kill myself twice. My pack doesn't know. Nobody knows. I came here thinking at least this way my death would mean something. One by one, they spoke. I'm not actually a beta's daughter. I lied on my application. I'm just a regular pack wolf who wanted to be special. I have a mate already, back home. But he's not an alpha, not powerful, and my family said I could do better. So I left him to compete for a king I don't even want. I can barely control my wolf. Most days I'm terrified I'll shift and hurt someone. I'm not strong. I'm barely holding on. I ran away from my pack 3 years ago, changed my name. They don't even know I'm here. I'm hiding from an alpha who claimed me without consent. I'm 42, not 30 like my records say. I lied about my age because everyone said I was too old to compete. Too old to matter. Each truth spoken was a thread cut. Each lie exposed was a chain broken. And slowly, gradually, the palace stopped collapsing. Mara was the last to speak. She stood with her arms crossed, jaw set, looking like she'd rather die than admit weakness. Go ahead, Kara said gently. Whatever it is, it can't be worse than what we've already said. You don't know that. But Mara's voice cracked. You don't know. She stopped, started again. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of living, of waking up every day and having to be the person everyone expects, strong, fearless, perfect. I'm so tired of being perfect. The sealed doors shook. Dust rained down from the frame. I don't want to be a warrior, Mara continued, the words coming faster now. I don't want to fight, or lead, or prove anything to anyone. I just want to exist without it being a performance, without every moment being a test I have to pass. Tears ran down her face. And I hate that wanting that makes me weak. I hate that admitting it feels like failure. I hate that I've spent 28 years pretending to be someone I'm not, just so my pack wouldn't be ashamed of me. It's not failure, Rhea said quietly. It's just truth. The doors burst open. Sunlight flooded in, bright and shocking after so much darkness. Beyond the threshold, guards stood frozen in shock, staring at the destroyed throne room and the women who'd somehow survived it. The king, one guard managed. Is he alive? Alaric said, pushing himself to his feet. He looked smaller somehow, less imposing, more human, and no longer cursed. Cheering erupted from the guards, from the palace staff who'd gathered outside. The news spread like wildfire. The curse was broken. The king was free. The trial was over. But Vivian appeared in the doorway, her expression unreadable. Your Majesty, the council is demanding an audience. They've heard about the curse breaking, and they want— She paused, choosing words carefully. They want to verify the outcome. Of course they do. Alaric's voice was flat. Tell them I'll see them in an hour. They're insisting on immediately. Then they can insist somewhere else for an hour while I make sure no one in this room is about to bleed to death. Vivian's eyebrows rose fractionally, but she nodded and left. Healers rushed in, checking the injured women, cleaning wounds, setting broken bones. The 17 survivors of the trial were escorted to clean rooms, given fresh clothes, told to rest. But Rhea couldn't rest. Her mind was too loud, replaying everything that had happened, everything that had changed. She found herself in a bathing room, staring at her reflection in a cracked mirror. She looked different. Same face, same body, same lack of wolf. But something in her eyes had changed, a hardness that hadn't been there before. Or maybe it had always been there, and she was just now seeing it. A knock on the door. Kara entered without waiting for permission. You should eat something, Kara said. You look like you're about to collapse. I'm fine. You're not. None of us are. But we're alive, which is more than anyone expected. Kara sat on the edge of the ornate bathtub. What you did back there, forcing the truth out of everyone, that was either brilliant or insane. Can it be both? With you it usually is. Kara's smile was tired. The other women are talking about what happens next. Some want to go home. Others— She paused. Others are saying they don't have homes to go back to, that admitting the truth out loud means they can't go back to pretending. What about you? I don't know yet. My pack expects me to return as a hero or a failure. I'm neither. I'm just— Kara shrugged. Different. And I don't think they'll know what to do with that. Then stay, Rhea said. Stay here. Help figure out what comes next. You're assuming the king wants us to stay. I'm assuming the king needs all the help he can get. He just broke a 5-year curse and admitted to an entire kingdom that he's been hiding his whole life. He's going to need people who understand what that feels like. Before Kara could respond, Vivian appeared in the doorway again. Miss Calder, the king requests your presence. The council meeting is about to begin. Rhea's stomach dropped. I'm not part of the council. No, but apparently you're part of whatever's about to happen. Vivian's expression softened slightly. For what it's worth, I've worked for cursed kings and confident kings and everything in between. And I've never seen one look at someone the way he looks at you, like you're the only thing keeping him tethered to reality. That's terrifying. Yes, it is. Vivian stepped aside. But perhaps that's exactly what this kingdom needs. Someone who terrifies the powerful just by existing. The Great Hall was the only room in the palace that hadn't been destroyed. Probably because it predated the curse, built into the mountain's natural cave system. The council sat at a long table, 12 wolves, all of them old, all of them radiating the kind of power that came from decades of political maneuvering. At the head of the table sat Marcus Silverpine. Rhea's breath caught. Her own alpha, the man who'd presided over her rejection, was here in the capital, on the council. Marcus's eyes found hers across the room. Recognition flickered, then something else. Calculation, maybe, or disgust. He didn't acknowledge her, just looked away like she was beneath notice. Alpha Marcus, Alaric said evenly. I didn't know you joined the council. Temporary appointment. We needed someone to represent the outer territories while you were indisposed. Marcus's tone was carefully neutral. I see the trial has concluded. The curse is broken, Alaric confirmed. As you can see, indeed. Though the manner of its breaking raises questions. Another council member spoke up, an elderly woman with silver hair and ice-blue eyes. The trial was meant to select a queen, a mate strong enough to break the curse through power and will. Yet from what we understand, the curse was broken through She paused delicately. Surrender. Weakness. The very opposite of what we intended. Your intentions were flawed, Alaric said flatly. The room went silent. Explain yourself, Marcus demanded. The curse fed on strength, on dominance, on the exact qualities you valued most. Alaric's voice was calm but unyielding. Every warrior you sent me, every powerful she-wolf who entered the trial thinking she could overpower a curse with raw force. They all failed because they were doing exactly what the curse wanted, fighting, dominating, refusing to show weakness. And the girl? The silver-haired woman gestured at Rhea. The wolfless one. She succeeded where our best warriors failed. How? Because she was never trying to win. She was trying to survive. Alaric looked at Rhea. And survival requires truth, not performance. That's absurd, Marcus scoffed. Strength is what keeps packs alive. Dominance is what maintains order. Without those things, we're no better than the humans we hide among. Is that what you really believe? Rhea found herself speaking before she could stop herself. That strength is the only thing that matters? Marcus's eyes narrowed. I don't recall giving you permission to speak, girl. She doesn't need your permission, Alaric said quietly. Not here, not in my hall. She's not even a wolf. She's the broken thing from Silverpine that couldn't shift. That got rejected by her own mate because she was too defective to keep. Marcus's voice dripped contempt. And you want us to believe she's somehow more qualified than trained warriors? More valuable than she-wolves with actual power? Watch yourself, Marcus, Alaric warned. Or what? You'll curse me too? Marcus stood. I've known that girl since she was born. Watched her fail to shift year after year while her parents became the laughingstock of our pack. She's a genetic dead end, a mistake of nature. And now you want to elevate her to, what? Advisor? Confidant? Future queen? I want, Alaric said, his voice dropping to something dangerous, to stop measuring worth by power alone. Because that thinking is exactly what created the curse in the first place. The curse was created by enemies of the kingdom. No, the curse was created by my own fear, my own lies about what a king should be. Alaric moved to stand beside Rhea. And it was broken by someone who refused to participate in those lies. Someone who looked at an impossible situation and chose honesty over performance. This is madness, another council member said. The kingdom needs stability, needs traditions upheld, needs... The kingdom needs to evolve or die, Alaric interrupted. For 5 years you've watched me suffer under a curse and done nothing. Sent me warriors who failed and blamed them for not being strong enough. Never once questioning whether strength was the answer. He looked at each council member in turn. Well, it wasn't. And if you can't accept that a wolfless woman succeeded where your best warriors failed, then maybe you're the problem. The council erupted, voices overlapping, some agreeing, most arguing, all of them talking over each other in a way that made Rhea's head spin. She stood quietly, feeling the weight of their stares, their judgment, their disgust. This was what it had always been like. People looking at her and seeing failure, seeing waste, seeing something that didn't belong. But for the first time in her life, Rhea didn't care. Let them judge. Let them whisper. Let them decide she was worthless. She knew the truth now. And the truth was that she'd survived things that would have broken any of them. Marcus slammed his hand on the table, silencing the room. This is precisely why we need clarity on the trial's outcome. You've broken the curse. Excellent. But now you must choose a queen. The kingdom needs stability. Needs an alpha female who can produce strong heirs and maintain our traditions. What if I don't want that? Alaric asked. What you want is irrelevant. You're the king. Exactly. I'm the king, which means I get to decide what this kingdom actually needs. Alaric's hand found Rhea's. The gesture was small but deliberate, a statement. For 5 years, I've been told what I should want, what I should value, what makes a good king, and for 5 years, I've been trapped by those expectations. The curse trapped you, someone argued. The curse was built on those expectations, on the lies I told myself about what strength meant, what power required. He looked at each council member in turn. I'm done lying. To you, to myself, to everyone. So here's the truth. I don't know if I'm a good king. I don't know if I ever will be. But I know I'm tired of pretending that power and dominance are the only things that matter. Then what does matter? Marcus demanded. Survival, truth, the courage to be weak when weakness is what's needed. Alaric's grip on Rhea's hand tightened. This woman taught me that. She walked into my palace with nothing, no wolf, no power, no illusions about her chances. And she succeeded where everyone else failed because she refused to pretend she was something she wasn't. So you're choosing her. The silver-haired woman sounded incredulous. A wolfless human as your queen? I'm not choosing anyone right now. The trial is over. The curse is broken. And I need time to figure out what kind of king I want to be without external forces making those decisions for me. The kingdom won't wait forever, Marcus warned. Then the kingdom will have to learn patience. Alaric's voice was firm. I've spent 5 years being what everyone else needed me to be. I'm done with that. From now on, I lead as myself, flawed, uncertain, and human beneath the wolf. If that's not good enough, the council is welcome to find a replacement. The threat hung in the air. Technically, the council couldn't remove a king without cause, but they could make his rule impossible through political maneuvering. Marcus's expression was calculating. And the girl? What happens to her? She stays, Alaric said, as my guest, my advisor, my... He paused, searching for the right word. My reminder that strength comes in forms we don't always recognize. This is a mistake, Marcus said flatly. You're letting sentiment cloud your judgment. That girl is nothing. She comes from nothing. Raising her up won't change what she is, a defective wolf who couldn't even keep the mate bond the universe gave her. Rhea felt the words land, felt the familiar sting of being reduced to her failures. But this time, she didn't stay silent. You're right, she said clearly. I am defective. I can't shift. I got rejected by my mate. My own father sold me to settle his gambling debts. By every measure your world uses, I'm worthless. Marcus smiled. At least you're finally being honest. I'm not finished. Rhea stepped forward. I'm all those things. And I still survived a trial that killed dozens of warriors. I still broke a curse that trapped a king for 5 years. I still figured out in 3 days what your council couldn't understand in decades. That strength isn't everything. One success doesn't erase a lifetime of failure. No. But it proves that your definitions of success and failure are incomplete. Rhea's voice was steady. You measure worth by power, by dominance, by how well someone fits into the hierarchy, and anyone who doesn't fit gets discarded, cast out, treated like they're less than nothing. Because they are less, Marcus said coldly. No, because you're afraid. The words came out sharp. You're afraid that if weakness has value, if truth matters more than performance, then the entire system you've built your life on might be wrong, and that terrifies you more than any curse ever could. The room went dead silent. Marcus's face flushed with rage. How dare you? She dares because she's right, Alaric said. And you know it. That's why you're so angry. Because a wolfless girl just exposed what you've been hiding, that your strength is just another kind of weakness, that your power is built on fear, that everything you've convinced yourself matters is just performance. This is treason, Marcus snarled. This is truth, and I'm done being afraid of it. Alaric addressed the full council. Here's what's going to happen. The trial is over. Rhea Calder will remain in the palace under my protection. The 17 women who survived will be offered positions here if they choose to stay, or safe passage home if they choose to leave. And this council will adjust to the new reality that this kingdom values more than just raw power. And if we refuse, the silver-haired woman asked, then you leave the council, and I find people who actually want to build something better. Alaric's smile was sharp. Your choice. The meeting dissolved into arguments, half the council standing to leave, shouting about overreach and madness, half staying, uncertain but intrigued. Marcus stood last. He looked at Rhea with pure venom. You think you've won something here, but you're just a pawn in a game you don't understand. And when he's done with you, when he realizes you can't give him what he actually needs, heirs, power, a proper mate, he'll discard you just like Garrett did. Maybe, Rhea said. But at least I'll know I was honest about what I was. Can you say the same? Marcus left without another word. The remaining council members filed out, leaving Rhea and Alaric alone in the Great Hall. "That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen," Alaric said quietly, "or the stupidest." "I'm going with stupid," Rhea said. Her hands were shaking. "I just called out the alpha of my former pack in front of the entire council. He's going to make my life a nightmare. He's going to try, but he'll have to go through me first." Alaric turned to face her. "You don't have to stay, you know. I meant what I said. You're free to leave if you want. Go back to Silver Pine or start fresh somewhere else. You've earned that much." "Do you want me to leave?" "No. But I also don't want you to stay out of obligation, or fear, or because you think you owe me something." He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "Stay because you want to, because you see something here worth fighting for, or don't stay at all." Rhea thought about Silver Pine, about going back to the pack that had rejected her, the family that had sold her. Thought about starting over in some other territory where no one knew her story. Then she thought about the women in the palace who'd survived the trial, about Kara and Mara and Isla and all the others who'd spoken their truths and found freedom in honesty, about Alaric who'd chosen to break himself rather than stay trapped. "I'll stay," she said. "Not because I owe you, because I want to see what happens next. What we build from all this broken honesty. It's going to be hard. The council will fight every change. The packs will resist. People will call us weak, call us fools. Let them," Rhea smiled. "I've been called worse by better people. And I'm still here." Alaric laughed. Then he pulled her into a hug that was probably inappropriate for a king and his whatever she was. But Rhea didn't care. She hugged him back. Two people who'd survived impossible things holding on to each other in the ruins of what used to be. "Thank you," he whispered, "for making me break the curse. For making me save myself. Thank you for not being another person who thought my weakness made me worthless." They stood there for a long moment, just breathing, just existing in the space they'd created. Then Vivian appeared in the doorway. Again. The woman had timing like a predator. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, not sounding sorry at all. "But you both need to see this." She led them to the palace entrance. Outside, a crowd had gathered, not guards or council members. Regular wolves, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all of them standing in silence. "What's happening?" Alaric asked. "Word spread," Vivian said, "about the curse breaking, about the truth you both spoke, about," she gestured at the crowd, "about everything. And they want to see for themselves." Alaric stepped forward, the crowd's eyes fixed on him immediately. "I don't have a speech prepared," he said. His voice carried, amplified by the mountain's natural acoustics. "I don't have answers or solutions or any idea what I'm doing. All I have is the truth. I've been hiding for 5 years, hiding behind a curse that I chose because I was too afraid to be myself." Silence. Then someone near the front spoke up. "If you were hiding, what are you now? Honest. Scared. Trying to figure out how to be a king without pretending to be something I'm not." Alaric looked at Rhea. "And apparently, that's harder than it sounds." A ripple of laughter. Small, uncertain, but real. "We're scared too," a woman called out. "Scared that if we're not strong enough, not dominant enough, we won't matter, won't survive." "Then maybe we've all been scared of the wrong things," Alaric said. "Maybe survival doesn't require dominance. Maybe it just requires honesty about what we actually are." More voices joining, people sharing fears, admitting weakness, speaking truths they'd hidden for years. And standing in the middle of it all, Rhea realized something that felt like power. She'd changed things. Not through strength, or dominance, or force. Through simple, stubborn refusal to lie. The crowd dispersed slowly, talking among themselves, arguing, questioning. But something had shifted, a crack in the foundation of how things had always been. Later that night, Rhea found herself back in her room. Clean clothes, soft bed, window overlooking the city. Everything the same as when she'd arrived. But she was different. A knock on the door. She opened it to find all 16 of the other trial survivors standing in the hallway. "We're staying," Kara said without preamble. "All of us. We talked about it, and we don't have anywhere else to go. Not anymore. Not after speaking the truth out loud. The king said you could leave. We know, but we want to stay. Want to help build whatever comes next." Mara stepped forward. "I was wrong about you. About everything." And I'm sorry. You tried to kill me, Rhea pointed out. I was trying to kill the thing inside me that the curse was using. You just happened to be in the way. Mara's smile was crooked. But yeah, still sorry. Isla pushed forward. We want you to teach us how to survive without pretending, how to be weak and still matter. I don't know how to teach that. Then we'll figure it out together, Kara said. 17 women who survived the impossible. That has to count for something. Rhea looked at them. These warriors and daughters and survivors who'd all learned the same hard lesson she had. That honesty was harder than strength. That truth cost more than power. Okay, she said. We'll figure it out together. They crowded into her room, talking and laughing and planning, and for the first time since the rejection, since the betrayal, since everything had fallen apart, Rhea felt like she belonged somewhere, not because she was strong, not because she was powerful, because she was honest, and that was enough. Outside her window, the city lights glowed. The kingdom that had rejected her was changing. Slowly, painfully, one truth at a time. And Rhea Calder, the wolfless girl who wasn't supposed to matter, was at the center of it all. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The council would keep fighting. Packs would resist. People would call her weak, call her unworthy, call her a mistake. But she'd heard all that before. And she was still here, still honest, still alive, still mattering despite everything that said she shouldn't. That, Rhea thought as she fell asleep surrounded by women who'd chosen truth over performance, was the best revenge of all. Not destroying her enemies, but proving they'd been wrong about what strength actually meant. 3 months later, the palace still looked like a war zone. Rhea stood in what used to be the throne room, watching workers haul away the last of the broken marble. The bone throne was gone. Alaric had it destroyed the day after the curse broke, said he never wanted to sit on something built from death and fear again. In its place, they were building something new, something that didn't require bones to prove its strength. The council is here, Vivian said from the doorway. She didn't look happy about it. All of them? 11. Marcus declined to attend. Shocking, Rhea muttered. Marcus had been making his disapproval known for weeks, spreading rumors, questioning Alaric's judgment, calling emergency pack meetings to discuss the human problem. He hadn't shown his face at the palace since the confrontation, but his influence was everywhere. Alaric appeared beside her, looking tired. He always looked tired these days. Breaking a curse didn't mean the work was done. It meant the real work was just beginning. Ready for this? He asked. No, but I stopped waiting to be ready for things. They walked together to the reconstructed council chamber. 11 wolves sat around the table, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. The silver-haired woman, Counselor Helena, nodded in greeting. A few others followed suit. The rest just stared. Thank you for coming, Alaric said, taking his seat. Rhea stood behind him, a position they'd agreed on. Visible, but not threatening. Present, but not presumptuous. We came because you demanded it, one counselor said, not because we wanted to. Fair enough. Let's get to it then. Alaric gestured to Vivian, who distributed folders around the table. These are the proposals we've been working on for the past 3 months. Changes to how the kingdom operates, how packs are governed, how we measure worth and distribute resources. Helena opened her folder, scanned the contents. Her eyebrows rose. You want to eliminate the dominance hierarchy? Not eliminate. Reform. Make it less rigid. Create space for wolves who don't fit the traditional power structure. Alaric leaned forward. For 5 years, this kingdom operated under a curse built on toxic ideas about strength. Now that we're free of it, we need to make sure we don't just rebuild the same systems that created the problem in the first place. These changes are radical, another counselor said, flipping through pages. Allowing wolves to challenge their rank without physical combat, providing resources to wolfless individuals, creating councils that include... He stopped, looked at Rhea. Humans. The trial proved that strength comes in many forms, Alaric said. We're just acknowledging that reality. The trial proved nothing except that desperate times call for desperate measures. The counselor slammed his folder shut. Now that the crisis is over, we should return to normal operations, not upend centuries of tradition because one girl got lucky. It wasn't luck, Kara said from where she stood along the wall with the other trial survivors. They'd all taken positions in the palace. Guards, advisors, liaisons to various packs, creating a network of women who understood that survival required more than dominance. It was understanding something the rest of you refused to see. And what's that? That your traditions were killing you slowly, from the inside out. Kara's voice was steady. Every wolf who couldn't fit the mold, every pack member who showed weakness, every individual who valued something other than power, you cast them out, broke them, and then wondered why your kingdom was cursed. We were cursed by enemies. You were cursed by your own fear, Rhea interrupted quietly. All eyes turned to her. Fear of being weak, fear of being inadequate, fear that if you stopped performing strength every second of every day, you'd stop mattering. That fear is what the curse fed on. And these reforms, she gestured at the folders, they're about stopping that cycle before it starts again. You don't even have a wolf, the counselor said dismissively. What do you know about our traditions? I know they destroyed me, and I know they almost destroyed your king, and I know that if you go back to business as usual, you'll just create another curse. Maybe not a magical one, but something just as devastating. Silence. Heavy and uncomfortable. Helena spoke up. These proposals, they're not without merit, but they're also deeply unpopular. The packs are already resistant. There have been incidents. What kind of incidents? Alaric asked sharply. Protests. Challenges to authority. 3 packs have threatened to leave the kingdom entirely if these reforms move forward. Helena's expression was grave. And Marcus is organizing them, calling for a vote of no confidence in your leadership. Rhea's stomach dropped. A vote of no confidence could remove a king if enough packs supported it. And Marcus had connections, influence, the kind of political power that came from decades of playing the game. Let him, Alaric said. Your Majesty, I said let him. Alaric stood. If the packs want to remove me because I refuse to go back to the old ways, then maybe I'm not the king they need. But I won't compromise on this. I won't go back to pretending that strength is the only thing that matters. I can't. Then you may not be king much longer, Helena said quietly. The meeting ended badly. Half the council walked out. The rest stayed, but their support felt fragile, contingent on political winds that could shift at any moment. After they left, Rhea found Alaric in his chambers. He was standing at the window, staring out at the city, his shoulders tight with tension. We're losing, he said without preamble. Not yet. Marcus has the support, the political machinery, the ability to make this vote happen. He turned to face her. And I can't fight him the way he fights. I won't manipulate and threaten and play games with people's lives just to stay in power. So don't. Fight him differently. How? By showing the kingdom what they actually need instead of what they think they want. Rhea moved to stand beside him. Marcus is selling fear. He's telling everyone that change equals weakness, that reform equals destruction. We need to show them that the opposite is true. And how do we do that? Rhea thought for a moment. Then an idea started forming. Dangerous, probably stupid, but maybe the only chance they had. We host a gathering. Every pack in the kingdom. Show them what we've built here. Let them see the trial survivors, the reformed systems, the proof that there's another way. That's insane. We're talking about hundreds of wolves, many of them openly hostile. Exactly. Bring the hostility out into the open. Let them see you face to face. Let them ask questions, challenge you, debate the reforms. Rhea's voice grew more certain. Marcus has been controlling the narrative from a distance. He tells people what you're doing without letting them see it for themselves. So we change that. We make it impossible for him to hide behind rumors. Alaric stared at her. You realize this could backfire spectacularly. If the packs see everything and still reject it, then at least we'll know. At least we'll have fought honestly. Rhea reached out, took his hand. You broke a curse by telling the truth. Maybe that's how we save the kingdom too. The gathering was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Invitations went out to every pack in the kingdom, not a request but a summons. The king was calling his wolves home. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some packs accepted eagerly, others sent back scathing refusals. Marcus, predictably, accepted on behalf of Silverpine and immediately began organizing a coalition of packs opposed to the reforms. He's planning something, Kara warned. I've got sources saying he's going to use the gathering to force the vote. Make it public, put pressure on everyone to choose sides. Let him, Rhea said. They were in her chambers, planning, strategizing. We need this out in the open anyway. You sound awfully calm for someone whose entire future is about to be decided by a bunch of wolves who hate her. I'm terrified, but I'm also tired of hiding. Rhea looked at the women gathered around her, Kara, Mara, Ayla, and 14 others who'd survived the trial and chosen to stay. We've built something here, something real, and if it falls apart because people can't handle truth, then at least we tried. Very inspiring, Mara said dryly. Now what's the actual plan? The plan was simple. Show the kingdom what they'd accomplished. The trial survivors would share their stories. Wolves who'd benefited from the reforms would testify. And Rhea would face Marcus directly, in front of everyone, and prove that weakness and honesty could stand up to power and manipulation. Simple. Terrifying. Probably suicidal. Perfect. The day of the gathering arrived with storm clouds and tension thick enough to choke on. Wolves poured into the capital from every territory. Alphas and betas, warriors and healers, families and lone wolves, thousands of them, filling the reconstructed Great Hall and spilling out into the courtyards. Rhea stood backstage, her hands shaking. In a few minutes, she'd walk out in front of all these wolves. All these people who'd been raised to believe she was worthless. You don't have to do this, Alaric said quietly. I can handle Marcus myself. No, this needs to be me. Rhea took a breath. Because this isn't just about politics or reforms or who gets to be king. It's about proving that the girl everyone threw away actually mattered, that I mattered. You've already proven that. To you. To the women here. But not to them. She gestured toward the hall. Not to the Pax who watched me grow up and decided I was broken. Not to Marcus, who still thinks I'm a mistake he can erase. I need to face them. Need to show them that honesty and weakness can be stronger than any performance of power. Alaric pulled her into a quick, fierce hug. Then go show them. And know that whatever happens, you've already changed everything. Rhea walked onto the stage. The noise hit her first. Thousands of voices, all of them stopping at once. Silence spreading like ripples from a stone thrown into water. Every eye in the hall fixed on her. The wolfless girl. The broken one. The mistake. My name is Rhea Calder, she said, her voice amplified by the hall's acoustics. Most of you know me as the defective wolf from Silverpine, the one who couldn't shift, who got rejected by her own mate, who got sold by her father to settle gambling debts. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. For 22 years, I was told I didn't matter, that I was worthless, that I was a burden this world would be better off without. She scanned the crowd, found Marcus standing near the front. And I believed it, because everyone I trusted kept telling me the same thing. Then why are you here? Someone shouted from the crowd. Why should we listen to someone who's admitted they're worthless? Because I survived anyway. Rhea's voice grew stronger. I survived the rejection, survived being sold, survived a trial that killed dozens of warriors who were stronger, more powerful, more qualified than I could ever be. And I did it without a wolf, without power, without any of the things you've been taught actually matter. You got lucky, another voice called out. Did I? Or did I understand something you don't? Rhea looked out at the sea of faces. The curse that trapped your king for 5 years. It fed on strength, on dominance, on lies about what power means. And every warrior who tried to break it failed because they were using the exact tools the curse wanted them to use. She stepped forward to the edge of the stage. I broke it by being weak, by being honest, by refusing to pretend I was something I wasn't, and that terrifies you. Because if weakness can succeed where strength fails, then everything you've built your identity on might be wrong. This is blasphemy, Marcus said, stepping forward. The crowd parted for him. You're preaching weakness as virtue, telling us to abandon the very things that keep us alive, that make us wolves instead of prey. I'm telling you that strength without honesty is just performance, and performance is what created the curse in the first place. The curse was an anomaly, a magical attack from enemies. The curse was a mirror, Rhea interrupted, showing you exactly what you'd become, a kingdom so obsessed with strength that it couldn't handle truth, so terrified of weakness that it destroyed anyone who showed it. You didn't need external enemies. You are destroying yourselves from the inside. Marcus's eyes flashed gold. You dare? I dare because I have nothing to lose, Ria's voice rang clear. You already took everything from me. My pack, my family, my mate. The only thing I have left is the truth, and I'm going to keep speaking it no matter how much it scares you. The truth? Marcus laughed. The truth is you're a genetic dead end who got lucky once and now thinks she can lecture her betters about how to live. My betters. Ria smiled, and it wasn't kind. Is that what you are, Marcus? Better than me? Then explain why you're the one who's afraid. Why you've spent 3 months spreading lies and organizing resistance instead of facing these reforms honestly. Why you need political manipulation and backroom deals to fight a fight you claim to have already won. The crowd stirred, murmurs getting louder. I'm protecting our way of life. You're protecting your power, your position, your ability to keep judging people as less than so you can feel superior. Ria's voice dropped, became almost gentle. I know, because I've been on the receiving end of that judgment my whole life, and I'm done accepting it. Then leave. No one's forcing you to stay. No, you leave. You and everyone else who thinks strength means never showing weakness, who thinks honesty is the same as failure. Because this kingdom is changing, with or without you. She looked out at the crowd. 3 months ago, 17 women survived an impossible trial by telling the truth, by admitting fear and weakness and uncertainty, and in doing so, they broke a 5-year curse that your best warriors couldn't even scratch. She gestured to the trial survivors standing along the edges of the hall. These women are now guards, advisors, teachers. They're building something new here, something based on truth instead of performance, and it's working. One success doesn't prove, then let me prove it again. Ria turned to face Marcus directly. You want to call a vote of no confidence? Fine. But before you do, let's make this honest. Let's have a real debate. Right here, right now, in front of everyone. You defend the old ways, I'll defend the new ones, and we let the kingdom decide based on truth instead of politics. The hall erupted. Wolves shouting, arguing, some cheering, some booing. The noise was deafening. Marcus stared at her, calculation clear in his eyes. He was trying to figure out the trap, the angle, the way this would backfire on him. There wasn't one. Ria was just tired of hiding. Fine, Marcus said finally. Let's debate. Let's show everyone exactly what your truth is worth. They spent the next 2 hours in front of thousands of wolves, laying out competing visions for the kingdom. Marcus spoke first, painting a picture of strength and tradition. He talked about the importance of hierarchy, of dominance, of maintaining the order that had kept wolves alive for centuries. He was good, polished, confident, speaking to fears that ran deep in everyone who'd ever been taught that weakness meant death. Then it was Ria's turn. She told her story. Not the sanitized version, but the real one. Every rejection, every humiliation, every moment she'd been told she didn't matter. And then she told what came after, the trial, the curse breaking, the women who'd survived by being honest. Marcus is right about one thing, she said. Weakness can be death. I've seen it, lived it, been destroyed by it more times than I can count. She paused. But pretending to be strong when you're not? That's worse, because it means you can't ask for help, can't admit when you're wrong, can't grow or change or become something better than what you started as. She looked at Marcus. You want to know what the reforms are really about? They're about creating space for wolves who don't fit the traditional mold, who are strong in ways that don't look like dominance, who matter even when they're not winning. And what happens when enemies attack? Marcus demanded. When other kingdoms see our honesty as weakness and move against us? Your truth won't stop claws and teeth. No, but unity will. Trust will. Having wolves who fight for something they actually believe in instead of just performing strength they don't feel. Ria's voice grew passionate. You think your way creates strong warriors? It creates wolves who are terrified of showing any vulnerability. Who would rather die than ask for help? Who break themselves trying to live up to impossible standards? Better that than weak. I survived your impossible standards, Ria shouted. The hall went silent. I survived being told I was worthless every day of my life. Survived rejection and betrayal and being sold like property. survived a trial that killed trained warriors, and I did it without ever being what you consider strong. So maybe, your definition of strength is incomplete." The silence held. Then a voice from the crowd. "What would you have us do? Just admit weakness and hope for the best? No. Admit weakness and build support systems. Admit truth and create trust. Admit that none of us are as strong as we pretend to be, and that's okay, because together we can be stronger than any of us alone." Rhea looked around the hall. The curse broke when we stopped lying, when we stopped pretending, when we held on to each other in the dark and told the truth about what we actually were. That's what these reforms are trying to create. A kingdom where honesty is valued as much as strength, where wolves can matter without having to perform perfection every second. "And you think that's sustainable?" Marcus asked. "You think a kingdom built on admitted weakness can survive?" "I think a kingdom that can't handle truth is already dead. It just hasn't stopped moving yet." The debate continued. Other wolves joined in, asking questions, challenging both sides. Some supported Marcus, arguing for tradition and hierarchy. Others supported the reforms, sharing their own stories of being broken by the old systems. And slowly, gradually, the tide began to turn. Not dramatically, not completely, but enough that Rhea could feel it, a shift in the room's energy, a crack in the certainty that the old ways were the only ways. Finally, as the sun set and exhaustion weighed on everyone, Alaric stood. "Enough," he said. "We could debate this forever, but at some point, we have to make a choice." He looked at Marcus. "You want to call a vote of no confidence? Call it, right now, in front of everyone. Let's see where the kingdom actually stands." Marcus hesitated. For the first time all day, he looked uncertain. "The vote requires a majority of pack alphas," Helena said, standing. "There are 47 packs represented here today. If 24 vote no confidence, the king is removed and a new one must be chosen." "Then let's vote," Marcus said. The voting took an hour. Each alpha called forward, stating their pack's position for the record. Some voted quickly, their positions clear. Others hesitated, looking between Marcus and Alaric and Rhea, trying to decide which future they wanted. Rhea stood on the stage beside Alaric, watching it unfold. Her heart was in her throat. This was it, the moment that would determine everything. The vote was close, terrifyingly close. 23 packs voted no confidence. 24 voted to keep Alaric as king. By a single vote, the reforms survived. The hall erupted in chaos, supporters cheering, opponents shouting, everyone talking at once. Marcus stood frozen, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. He'd lost. By one vote, he'd lost. "This isn't over," Marcus snarled, pushing through the crowd toward the stage. "You think one vote changes anything? You think these wolves actually support your weakness? They're just afraid of change. Give them time and they'll see what you really are." "A survivor," Rhea said quietly. "Someone who refused to give up even when everyone said I should. Someone who broke a curse and rebuilt a kingdom and stood in front of thousands of wolves who hated her and told the truth anyway." She stepped toward him. "And you're right, this isn't over, because change takes time. But it starts with moments like this, with one vote, with one person deciding that maybe, just maybe, there's another way." Marcus stared at her with pure venom. Then he turned and walked out, his supporters following. The hall slowly emptied, some wolves leaving angry, others thoughtful, all of them processing what had just happened. Rhea sank down onto the edge of the stage, her whole body shaking with exhaustion and relief and terror at what they'd just done. Kara appeared beside her. "You did it. You actually did it." "We did it," Rhea corrected. "All of us." "No, that was you." Kara sat down. "I've been a warrior my whole life, trained to fight, to dominate, to never show weakness. And I watched you stand in front of the entire kingdom and do the opposite, and win. By one vote. One vote is all you need." Kara bumped her shoulder. "Besides, you changed more than the vote. You changed the conversation, made it possible for wolves to question things they never questioned before. That's going to ripple out in ways we can't even predict. Over the next weeks, the ripples became waves. Packs started implementing the reforms. Not all of them, not everywhere, but enough. Enough that wolfless individuals started showing up at the palace, asking if the rumors were true, if there was really a place where they could matter without a wolf. Enough that warriors started admitting they were tired of fighting, that they wanted something more than just dominance and violence. Enough that the whole kingdom began to shift, slowly, painfully, towards something new. Marcus tried to fight it. Organized resistance, called emergency meetings, spread rumors about Rhea and Alaric. But every attack just proved the point, that the old guard was more interested in maintaining power than actually helping wolves thrive. 3 months after the gathering, Marcus stepped down as Alpha of Silverpine. Claimed he was retiring, but everyone knew the truth. His own pack had voted him out, chosen a new Alpha who supported the reforms. When Rhea heard, she felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge, not even relief. Just emptiness where hatred used to be. You could go back, Alaric said that night. They were in the reconstructed throne room, still not finished, probably never would be completely. To Silverpine, confront the people who threw you away, show them what you've become. No, Rhea said. I don't need them to see it. I already know. What do you know? That I matter, that I always mattered. Their inability to see it doesn't change the truth. She looked at him. Besides, I have work here, a kingdom to help rebuild, women to teach, a stubborn king to keep honest. Alaric smiled. Is that what you're doing? Keeping me honest? Someone has to. He moved closer. They'd been dancing around this for months, the connection between them, the bond that wasn't a mate bond but felt like something just as strong. But neither had pushed it, both too aware of the political implications, the power dynamics, the ways it could go wrong. I love you, Alaric said quietly. I know I'm not supposed to say that. I know it complicates everything. But you made me promise to be honest, so I love you, have for a while now, and I needed you to know. Rhea's breath caught. You don't have to. I want to, but I also want you to feel free to say no, to leave, to choose something else. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because you were right about everything else, so I'm trusting you're right about this too. That love without pressure is the only kind worth having. I love you too, Rhea said. The words felt strange in her mouth, unfamiliar. She'd never said them before, never had reason to. But I'm terrified, because everyone I've ever trusted has hurt me. And you could too. You probably will, eventually, even if you don't mean to. Probably, Alaric agreed. But maybe that's okay. Maybe loving someone doesn't mean never hurting them. Maybe it just means being honest when you do, apologizing, trying to do better. That sounds hard. Everything worthwhile is. They stood there in the half-finished throne room, two broken people who'd somehow found each other in the wreckage of everything they'd been taught to value. Marry me, Alaric said suddenly. Rhea's eyes went wide. What? Marry me. Not because the kingdom needs a queen, not because it's politically convenient, not because of some mate bond or destiny or any of that. He took her hands. Marry me because I want to spend my life with someone who refuses to let me lie to myself, who calls me out when I'm being a coward, who shows me every day that strength comes in forms I never expected. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard, Rhea said, but she was smiling. Is that a yes? It's a maybe. I need time. Need to figure out if this is what I actually want or if I'm just scared of being alone again. She squeezed his hands. But ask me again in a year, after we've had time to see if this is real or just trauma bonding. Fair enough. Alaric pulled her close. I can wait. I'm good at waiting now. A year later, almost to the day, Rhea stood in the same reconstructed throne room, now completely finished, bright and open, and nothing like the dark space where a cursed king had once held court. The room was packed, not for a trial this time, for a wedding. 17 trial survivors stood as her attendants, Kara holding flowers, Mara actually crying, Isla beaming with joy. Women who'd survived the impossible and chosen to stay, to build something new together. On the other side stood Alaric's attendants, guards and advisors and wolves, who'd learned that serving a king didn't require worshipping him, just supporting him when he stumbled. And in the crowd, hundreds of wolves, some who'd supported them from the beginning, some who'd fought against the reforms and slowly changed their minds, some who were still uncertain, but came anyway, because change deserved witnessing. Rhea wore a simple dress. Nothing elaborate, nothing trying to prove she belonged. She'd spent too many years performing. Today was just truth. You sure about this? Kara whispered. No, Rhea whispered back. But I'm doing it anyway. The ceremony was short. No elaborate vows, no promises of eternal devotion, just two people agreeing to try. To be honest, to choose each other every day, knowing they'd both mess up and hurt each other and have to figure out how to rebuild. When it was over, when they'd been declared king and queen, Alaric pulled her close. We did it, he murmured. We survived, Rhea corrected. The hard part comes next. Which is? Actually building the kingdom we promised, actually living up to the changes we said we'd make. She looked at the crowd, at the women who'd stood with her, at the wolves who'd chosen truth over performance. Actually proving that weakness and honesty can create something stronger than dominance ever could. No pressure then. None at all. They walked out of the throne room together, into sunlight and cheering crowds and a future that was uncertain and terrifying and beautiful precisely because it wasn't guaranteed. 2 years after that, the kingdom had transformed. Not completely. Not perfectly. There were still packs that rejected the reforms. Still wolves who believed strength was everything. Still moments when the old ways crashed against the new ones and created conflict. But the cracks had become foundations. Wolfless individuals had rights now, legal protections, opportunities that didn't require shifting to access. The dominance hierarchy still existed, but it was softer, more fluid. Room for wolves to move between ranks without violence. Room for different kinds of strength to be valued. And the palace, once a symbol of isolation and cursed power, had become a refuge, a place where wolves who didn't fit anywhere else could come and find community, find people who understood that survival sometimes looked like surrender. Rhea stood on the balcony of her chambers, looking out over the city. She was 27 now, queen of a kingdom that had once rejected her, leader of a movement she'd never intended to start, and she was still wolfless, still weak by traditional standards, still the girl who couldn't shift. But she'd learned something in the years since the trial. Strength wasn't about power. It was about persistence. It was about standing up after being knocked down, about telling the truth when lying would be easier, about choosing honesty over performance, even when honesty made you vulnerable. It was about surviving what should have destroyed you and building something beautiful from the wreckage. Alaric joined her on the balcony. What are you thinking about? Revenge, Rhea said. Should I be worried? No, because I already got it. She gestured at the city. This is my revenge. Not destroying the people who hurt me, not making them suffer, just proving them wrong. Showing them that the girl they threw away became something they never imagined. Think they've noticed? Some have. Garrett sent a letter last month, apologizing, asking if we could talk. She'd thrown it away unread. Some bridges weren't worth rebuilding. Others probably still think I got lucky, that I'm a fluke, an anomaly. Does that bother you? Not anymore, because I know the truth. And so do the thousands of wolves who've benefited from these reforms. So do the women who survived the trial. So do the people building this new world with us. She turned to face him. Their opinions don't define me. My actions do. Look at you, Alaric said softly, the wolfless girl who became unstoppable. I'm not unstoppable, I'm just stubborn, Rhea smiled, and I've learned that sometimes stubbornness is enough. Below them, the city lived and breathed and grew. Wolves and humans mixing more freely than ever before. Children growing up in a world where weakness wasn't automatically punished, where honesty was valued alongside strength. It wasn't perfect. Probably never would be. But it was better. And better was enough. That night, Rhea dreamed of the trial, of the water and the darkness and the moment she'd chosen to dive deeper instead of running for the obvious exit. In the dream, she dove again and again and again, each time finding something new in the depths, each time surfacing a little stronger. And when she woke, she carried that lesson into her waking life. Sometimes the only way out is through. Sometimes the only way to win is to stop trying to win and just try to survive honestly. Sometimes the weakest person in the room is actually the strongest because they're not wasting energy pretending to be something they're not. She got up and got dressed and went to face another day of building a kingdom on truth instead of lies. And somewhere, in a small packed territory far from the capital, a young wolfless girl heard stories about the queen who'd survived the impossible. And she thought, if she could do it, maybe I can too. And the cycle continued, not perfectly, not easily, but honestly. And in a world that had been built on lies for so long, honesty was the most revolutionary act of all. Rhea Calder had been rejected, discarded, sold, and nearly destroyed. But she'd survived and thrived and built something beautiful from the ashes of everything that had tried to break her. She hadn't just proven them wrong, she'd proven that wrong didn't matter. What mattered was truth. And truth, she'd learned, was the only power she'd ever needed.